But to do it. All right. So we live. All right. ETM Hotep to everyone watching. And since we just started, probably have to give a chance for people to actually watch. But anyone's watching the the archive, ETM Hotep, welcome. We are the Seshew Medew Netcher, and this is Freestyle Friday. And on Freestyle Fridays, we pick a random inscription, a picture, preferably one that is recommended by anyone, people that are watching or anyone that is participating in our Facebook group. And so we grab a picture and then we just freestyle, for the namesake of what we're doing tonight, that we call Freestyle Fridays. Now, the difference between tonight and what we do on Wednesday, which is our Divine Words Wednesdays, is on Wednesdays we emphasize method and we take our time to go through the details of each steps of the correct method in transliterating and translating. So we also on Wednesdays we pick a picture, but we will detail maybe one or two columns or one or two rows so that we can go through the full four steps and show everyone or demonstrate to everyone how the steps are done and the fact that they can be done. All right, so we take our time on Wednesdays and we actually make use of the tools, and those tools being the sign list for step 2, which is to identify every single sign in the inscription that you're dealing with. And then for step 3, we make use of the dictionaries, whether it's Budge, whether it's Faulkner, whether it's Vigus, or the Wörterbuch, or any dictionary you have. We make use of all of the resources that we have. All right. Now that's the full detailed explanation and demonstration of the technique or method and how to transliterate and translate. But on Fridays, Freestyle Fridays, we basically do the same thing except we don't use any of the tools. And the benefit of doing that is just, one, to have fun doing this. Two, it's to show everyone who's participating, how far along they are in terms of their proficiency at the memorization of the different signs or glyphs, the memorization of different words that we see all the time, in terms of grouping the signs, and then our memorization of what these words mean. Because unfortunately, Rani Kemet, or the Egyptian language, is not a language that we use on a day-to-day basis because we don't have anybody to speak it with too much, even if we did speak it. So because of that, we don't have the opportunity to speak it and to know it for it to be ingrained in our minds all the time. So these exercises will let us know, how far along or what we retain in terms of memorization of the meanings of words and things. But it's probably never going to be an instance where we won't have to use a dictionary, because even in our mother tongue of English, people who speak English and grew up in English as their first language, even to this very day, you can be grown and an adult, well in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and you still will have to consult a dictionary to look up words in the language that you've known and spoke all your life. So, so we probably will never get around utilizing dictionaries. All right. Now, in ancient times, they didn't walk around with dictionaries, so that would be a good conversation to have of, how did the people in ancient times remember the meanings of the plethora of words that's within their language? How did they retain that without toting around dictionaries to flip through the pages, be like, oh, okay, let me see what that means, see what this means. But that's probably for another conversation. It may be a good conversation. But anyway, so for tonight, again, welcome everyone who's watching now and who'll be watching the archives. This is Freestyle Fridays, and you're hanging with the Seshew Medew Netcher. And we like to have fun and see what we can do with the different pictures that's been suggested. So looking in the Facebook group, there were a couple of pictures suggested, actually like a few minutes ago. So bear with me for a minute and see if we can pull some of those up. Now also we're dealing with time. Friday, I always say sleep is for the week, and we starting off. I guess it's about 9 Eastern Standard Time, 9:20 Eastern Standard Time. So within the time frame, we may not be able to do a complete picture. So I'm gonna look through these pictures that's been suggested, and maybe find a shorter one, and maybe we could do more than one. You know, so give me a minute. But in the meantime, while I do that, we have people on the panel, other members of the Seshew Medew Netcher, and actually let me bring Brother June in. Apologize for that, Brother June. Welcome, ETM Hotep. But yeah, everybody else on the panel, introduce yourself. You know, tell the world who you are. What planet you come from, and how long it took you to actually project into this hangout so we can have fun with the inscriptions and everything. Now let me stop because people will take that serious. But no, everybody, if you can introduce yourself, and then let me try to set up one of these pictures.
ETM Hotep, Duau, Renee Kofi Paisa. You can find me on Facebook as Kofi Paisa. Thank you for tuning in. This is Freestyle Friday. I hope you all enjoy.
All right, anybody else? You know. Now the thing is, on Wednesdays, we emphasize method, and we're going step by step through the procedures and everything, because we want to push method, correct method, correct method. Um, but on Fridays, we're not we're not so rigid. We sticking to the method though. I do want to emphasize that we stick to the method. It's just that we're not utilizing any of the tools. So that's why we call it freestyle Friday. It's like in rap or hip hop, people either write their lyrics, go in the studio and record, or they have freestyle ciphers where you go off the top of the head and you create raps. Well, in that sense, we're going off the top of our head because we're not utilizing dictionaries or the sign list. All right, so that's the difference. And so tonight it'll be a little different, a little bit more laid back because we try to have fun with it. And also we have the chat open on the YouTube page. So if you're on the YouTube page, you can participate in the chat, and I'll try to monitor that and see if any questions or if anybody else want to chime in and give it a shot. And also, we're looking for more participation. If you feel like you can chime in and give it a shot, let me know on the chat. Let us know on the chat. Last week we saw that, and people were doing a good job. But that was only one person introduced, Brother Kofi. Anybody else on the panel want to introduce themselves?
Yeah, Hotep. It's Hotep and Ramariaman from the star system, Gleason 581. G. Took me a while to get here, but I made it. But, yeah, we're gonna be freestyling tonight. Then I'll shoot back where I'm from later on tonight. So see how it goes.
All right.
ETM Hotep, this is Brother June. Just want to say thanks for everybody tuning in, the picture submissions. Yeah, we appreciate it, and hope y'all leave satisfied. Hotep.
All right. All right. All right. All right. We also have Brother Chris, and we have Sonet's sister Tonica that's also with us. So
Hotep. Yes, I was just still trying to fix my mic. But yeah, Hotep, and well, welcome, and I hope you guys enjoy, and yeah, Also, for the ones who are on the chat, feel free to also just be part of the freestyling. Whatever.
All right. All right. Good enough. Good enough.
Welcome in peace. Brother Chris with the Seshew. Appreciate y'all tuned in. Watch us do what we do. About to put it down. Make sure y'all pick up what we putting down.
All right. Okay, so I'm just gonna share my screen. I'm gonna work with this bigger picture now. If we want to go through more than one, we can kind of do a little bit of this picture, and then a little bit of another picture. But I'm gonna do this Stella. Show the Stella because it's a nice clear picture. And that's another thing. If you submit a picture in our Facebook group, Seshew Medew Netcher Facebook group, try to find the biggest picture that you can, and it has the best quality, because I see a lot of pictures in different groups that people discuss and things, but the pictures are pretty small. Sometimes Facebook itself may manipulate the picture, but if you find a good picture, by all means, if you find a picture that you would like for us to go over, do your best to find the biggest picture, the one that has the most quality. All right. So for now, I have this one here, and I'll put it on my screen so everyone can see it. So can you see this picture? You should be able to see it. Can y'all see that?
Yep, I see it.
Okay. You should be able to see my cursor also, right?
Yep, I see that too.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to follow along, and we're just gonna take a stab at it.
You got
Freestyle.
some,
Okay, let me try to blow it up. Is it big enough? Can you see the glyphs clear?
Nah, it's like, nah, they ain't clear.
All right, let me bring
I mean,
it up.
off of memory, I can see them clear, but like for the viewing audience, they won't be clear.
How about that?
Yep. Probably zoom in just one more notch if you can.
Oh,
But that's
that's
a little too much.
I have to bring it out.
Yeah, that should be good.
All right, we'll work from there. Okay, so now we have myself included, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 of us here. So we can kind of take turns. Now remember, I'll just mention the steps. That we could always go over on Divine Words Wednesdays, and the method, or the 4 steps within the method, is: 1, you determine the directions in which the signs are to be read. That's always step 1. Step 2 is to identify every single individual glyph. And by identification, I mean you have to be able to identify it by way of its Gardner code, which are codes that allow us to make reference to the sign. You have to know what the sign is, but more importantly, you have to know the possible ways that that particular sign can function. And it can function one of 3 ways: whether a phonogram, an ideogram / logogram, or as a determinative. Okay, so that will be step 2. And also in step 2, you would also learn how each individual sign is transliterated, and you use a sign list to perform step 2. But like now on Freestyle Fridays, we're not using the sign list, but that's what we would normally do. Step 3 is to group the signs into words, and then there's knowledge and skills that you would have in order to do that. And one of the main clues or main devices or tools that we use to assist us in that are the determinatives. Okay, and that'll be step 3. And then also with step 3, once you group the signs into words, then you take that grouping or that word and you look it up in the dictionary to pull the meaning. And so for tonight on Freestyle Friday, we're not going to be using the dictionaries. So those are the 2 steps. We're not utilizing the tool, but that's what you would normally do. And then step 4 is final step is to come away with a sensible translation. All right. And keeping in mind that you have to be flexible throughout this entire process, and also know that there's no one-for-one translation from a source language into a target language. So translations becomes a skill and a science and an art, because you have to be able to bring meaning over from the source language into the target language. In our case, would be English, and we have to conform to the rules of English syntax, and English grammar. So sometimes words are added where they're not there literally inside the text, like smaller words like prepositions or articles such as the, or a and an, prepositions of, and you know, things like that. We would have to add just to make it make sense in English. All right, so with all that in mind, we can jump right on in. And like I said, we stick to the method. It's just that we're not going to utilize the tools, which are the sign list and the dictionary. But now this is a lot. There's a lot of glyphs here. I'm just going to scroll through. So normally for step 2, whatever inscription that you're working with, you will want to complete step 2 for the entire inscription. Now, obviously, we're not going to have time to go through every single glyph and identify it by Gardner code and its function. So, but that's what you would normally do. You would complete step 2. You complete all the steps for the entire inscription. So, in other words, you don't take it's not advisable, I should say, because people have different methods. I mean, different details within the methods. So in other words, you don't like split this in half and say, okay, well, let me do step 1, 2, 3, and 4 with just these glyphs here, and then let me jump over here and do step 1, 2, 3, 4 with these glyphs over here. It's advised that you do step 1 for the entire inscription, do step 2 for the entire inscription, do step 3 for the entire inscription, and then step 4 for the entire inscription. And that goes for whatever it is that you're making attempts to transliterate and translate. All right, and the reason for that is because a lot of times, as I've said before, when, like, for example, on this stela here, these lines here that demarcate the rows here, they're not necessarily divisions of sentences or even words. So in other words, the end of this row, just because it's the end of a row and the beginning of a row here, well, actually I'm giving away step 1, it may be breaking up a word. You know, like this glyph here, it's not, but I'm just, as an example, this glyph here may be the beginning, maybe the first consonant within this word here, and the rest of it is down here. So sometimes when you try to do step 1, 2, 3, 4 for little bits and pieces of the text, then you're going to get lost, or you'll be more lost than you would normally. You know, so we want to reduce the chance of error, and we don't want to reduce any confusion that we could cause ourselves. So that's why it's advised to do step 1, 2, 3, and 4 through the entire inscription that you're doing. But like I said, for the sake of time for tonight, for us, we're not going to do that for the entire inscription. So we'll just go, maybe, let's say, count how many rows, 1, 2, or maybe, what would you all suggest? How many rows should we do? I mean, well, we just go. In other words, what I'm saying is that we're not going to take step 2 and identify all of these signs all the way down to the bottom. We can, but for the sake of time, you know. So I would say if we just do the top and 1, 2, 3, the first 4 rows, and then let's see what time we're working with from there.
Yeah, that sounds good. What y'all think in the chat room?
I'm trying to get them to come in and join in with the freestyle. They said no.
Yeah. They said
Join it on the panel?
They said about 4 or 5 rows.
Okay.
No, just go in like what's that guy Patar? Somebody who was that guy, the
You
gun
talking about
holder?
Shazmo?
Yeah,
Shazmo.
he be typing in real fast.
Oh, where's Shesmu? Shesmu on his time. Oh, okay. Well, I'm looking at the chat now. Just real quick, I want to acknowledge uh, those who are participating and participate quite often. We have, let's see, who's first? Brother Sean. I know Sean was going to be up front and center. He's like, yes, all right, let's do it. So we have son Sean. Now, Mac Tip, I'm not quite sure who that is, but Hotep, Sister Monica, front and center. All right, so, let's see what you're working with. Let's see. I'm probably pronouncing this name wrong, but oh, Lisa Cat. All right, I thought it was I. All right, and Jehuti Ma'at, and who else? All right, Shesmu Patah is absent. Surprisingly, no, he's usually right on it. All right, so anyway, we can jump in and get started. So starting at the top. Matter of fact, let's do this. Since step one is a snap. Um, what for step one is to deal with the direction in which the signs are to be read. So those of you who are in the chat on YouTube, I'll open it up to any one of you all if you want to tell us what direction are these signs to be read. And I have no problem getting into teacher mode and calling on someone. I will call someone. And we have brother Meech. Say Hotep to the brother. And it's probably like a delay between what I'm saying and then what people are hearing.
I think they got it in the chat. You talking about the directions to read this?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, they were going at it earlier in the chat. I think Lisa Cat was the first one with the correct answer, the horizontal right to left.
Okay. All right. That is absolutely correct. All right. So step one's taken care of. All right. Then, so let's jump in.
Before they jump in, what did they said from right to left?
Yes.
Okay. What about above the Baghdad?
Above the what?
The Baghdad?
The Behudat.
Yeah, the Baghdad.
You had to put your cursor on that, Ujal.
All right. Let me
Stop,
do
boy.
that in a second here. Go back to my picture. All right. You talking about here?
Yes. Those are two different directions.
All right. Yeah. All right. Y'all kind of let the cat out the bag. I was gonna ask one of them about that, but brother Kofi, you done basically just said the answer. So these are two different directions right here at the top. All right, so we can just jump one in. All right, so let's start at the top. Let me scroll back down a little bit, and so go for it. So as far as us on the panel, I guess anybody can just start it off. Start at the top, maybe read whatever you want to read or deal with, and then pass the baton to the next person.
Want me to start or?
Yes, you could. You have to.
Come here, Bryson.
Well, right here at the top, if we start above the Baghdad, well, actually, that's the word Baghdad. You got the wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the yeah? I can't even hardly see that. Is that okay? Yeah, that's the same thing. It look a little different. That the tusk at the top look like it's a piece at the top, but you have the tusk, the hand, the open hand, the half a bread loaf, and the inhabitant symbol at the bottom of the bread loaf. That's Bahudet. The tusk is the two constants, BH. The open hand is D. The bread loaf is T.
All right.
Bahudet. That let me know that that is a inhabitant or a land or a country by the symbol, the X-Man symbol. I forgot what is it called. The Naha. No, I can't pronounce that.
It's
The Nawa. Niut. I can't pronounce it.
it's the Niut.
Yeah, the Niut.
Yeah, 049.
Mm-hmm.
But now when you say X-Men, you know, that's like that's not, you know, that's I refer to it as X-Men belt buckle, and people can quickly see what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's the city determinative for an inhabited place. All right. So okay, so we had the top. Now, so obviously, so we see two of these. So you know, everybody can see that these are identical. One is facing to the left, and the other one is facing to the right, to make it symmetrical, because we have the sun disk in the middle and we have the wings. So we have the wing sun disk, with the serpents encircling it, or at 2, and then we have the name Behudet. So this is what this is called here. All right, and like you said, it's a city. Most people will refer to it as
Edfu, ain't it?
Edfu today. Yeah. All right, now I just want to point out something, then we can keep going. Above the Behudet symbol, we have this here, this indentation here. This is the word pet. This is the sign and symbol for the word pet is bent, just like how you see the goddess or the Netcher Newt, where she's bent over and her hands are touching one horizon and her feet are on the other horizon. So this is a symbol of pet, the word pet, bent over in the shape of Newt. All right, and we know that pet and Newt correspond. So pet is, people translate that as the sky or heaven, and Newt would be the Netcher or the female divinity or goddess of the sky. All right, so I just wanted to point that out, and then so all of this is under the sky, under the canopy of heaven, under the canopy of the sky. But all right, so we can jump in, and the next line. Kofi, were you were gonna do next line, or you want?
Yeah, I mean, I can start it. What is it? We over here with the Ankh right here. Ankh, is that Ankh-U? Is that the quail? No, is that the quail chick? Okay, is that the owl?
Well, okay, let's do this then, because earlier I was saying we're sticking to the method. So if you're gonna do this line, then let's go through the method per line. So so we can just walk through and identify what you can identify from memory, the signs, and then we'll go back and
okay, well, I'm going to be reading the first line from right to left, horizontal. I know that I'm going to be reading it right to left, horizontal. I can't identify this carved bird right here, but this carved bird is facing to the right. The quail chick, okay, yeah, that's the quail. The quail chick is facing to the right. The vulture and the cobra sitting on the baskets, which is Nekobet, and Wajet, which is facing to the right. The Netcher flag is facing to the right. The quail chick is facing to the right. the sedge plant and the bee is also facing to the right. So that's how I determine it being read from right to left, horizontal.
All right. And that would be step one. Now, step two.
Uh, what either you want me to give the signs in the
No, 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 not. You don't have to get the Gardner codes. But just to identify in some form or fashion whatever
okay,
signs you can identify.
okay. The Ankh is the
Hmm.
first. I can't identify the bird right here. I don't know if
Hmm.
it's. The next is the Netcher flag.
Hmm.
The next is the dung beetle, the quail chick,
Hmm.
the vulture and the cobra, Nekabet and Wajet, the two ladies,
Hmm.
the Netcher flag, the tide skins,
Hmm.
the quail chick, the half a bread loaf,
Hmm.
the sedge plant, and the bee with the half a bread loaves at the bottom of the sedge plant and at the bottom of the bee or the bitty. Uh, the ka sign, the ka u, I will know it's plural because of the three uh, uh, hands,
Hmm.
prostrating hands. The rated sun at the top. Well, I skipped Ra, the Ra
Hmm.
symbol. This sun, this, and then you have the rated sun beside it.
Hmm.
The quintessential loaf and the Ankh sign.
All right. So, okay. All right. So that's identifying. Identifying. All right. Now, mind you, those who are chimed in or tuned in to our video or our live feed now, we're going through the process that we normally go through on Wednesdays, with the exception of not using any of the tools. So this is going to be a little different, where we're identifying just from memory of the different signs, and we're going to identify words from memory as well. So we're not going to be able to give all of the different Gardner codes. But mind you that anyone who sits down and attempts to transliterate or translate any inscriptions at that particular point, that person should have already memorized what we call the monoliterals or the uniliterals, which are glyphs or signs that stand for a single consonant value. And there are 24 different signs that do that, and they will constitute what we would call an alphabet. So at this point in time, everybody who sits down and attempts this should already have those memorized at the very least. And by memorize, I mean you should memorize the Gardner codes as well. The Gardner codes, what the sign is, and um, how it's transliterated in both transliteration systems, and that will be diacritics and manual decoders, which is case sensitive. All right, so with the exception of those monoliterals, the rest of them will be biliterals and triliterals, and those particular signs, because there's so many, um, most of the time you won't memorize the Gardner codes, and you won't really have to, um, because most of the time you'll be able to use the sign list. But by default and by common sense, the more you memorize, then the faster or quicker you become. All right, so I just wanted to kind of put that out there. So now that you've done that, Brother Kofi, identified them. Um, so now that will bring us to step three. Step three would be to group the signs into words. So which words do you recognize from that whole first line?
Um, I'm assuming the Ankh symbol is going to be by itself, and I'm trying to figure out this car bird. Is it the I don't know what the car bird is. I'm not going to even try to guess.
I'm gonna throw a hint out there. Um, well, Okay, let's skip the bird for a second and then go over here, right here. If you can see my cursor.
Yes, those are a combination. The two ladies, the vulture and the vulture is all this is a combination. The vulture, the basket, the cobra, the basket. Those are the two ladies, Nekabet and Wajet.
Okay, so now because you identified that, now let's skip over to where my cursor is right here. What do you see
This
right here?
is a whole combination. That's Nasut Biti.
All right, so now the reason why I'm pointing those out is because when you normally see these glyphs in this combination back to back, that should trigger or give a clue that we're dealing with a king's um, titulary.
Mm-hmm.
So in a king's titulary, we know that the king has 5 names.
Mm-hmm. The Haru name, the golden Haru name, the throne name, the Sarah name, and the two lady name.
Right. So now if you go back here, you will probably be able to pick up what this bird is using the clues that you just said.
No, I still.
It would be
Oh, you right there, Kofi. You right there.
it would be the falcon because you just said the Heru name.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah.
I put my socks on. Come on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Get in the bed.
All right, but I'm hearing some background from you, so I don't know.
I'm sorry. That was my why. She didn't know I was on.
Okay, yeah, Friday night, everybody's at home chilling. So, all right. Okay, so that I was just trying to give you a clue to push
Yeah,
to push
yeah,
push
yeah,
you on
yeah.
that
You're
way.
right. You're right. You're right. No,
All right,
okay.
so so now you can go ahead because now that you have that clue, you can go ahead.
Uh,
So I know you said Unk, and now you know that this next one is Heru.
Heru,
Uh-huh.
uh, Netcher,
Mhm.
Kepra'u,
Mhm.
Nebet, Wajet, uh, Netcher, um, Me, mm, dang, Me'etu, as I'm saying it,
Spell it.
Masetu, Etw,
Well, spell it with transliteration. So I know.
Mstw.
Okay. Well, that's close. You have
Oh,
all the
that's
letters. You have all letters, but you have
yeah.
two in revert, two that need to be switched.
Okay, right. The beak is up above, above the half a bread loaf, so it would be MSWT.
Right. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that would be Miss Wet, Miss Wet.
Hey, Kofi, you got me dying over here.
Well, I can
He said
transliterate it. Hell, I don't know. I just can't pronounce.
he said Miss Wet. Wow. Miss Wet.
M
Paging
MSWT.
paging paging Miss Wet. Your baggage is ready. Paging Miss Wet.
But what's the name? Pronounce it for me.
The suit.
Huh?
Mess. I think it's mess suit, right?
Yeah, but I want to say something about pronunciation. This is for the archive and those who are watching. You know, all of the pronunciations that the majority of people speak today when they're trying to pronounce Rodney Kimmett words, it's all conventional and it's all tentative. It's not meant to be historically accurate whatsoever. And none of the Egyptologists that have published works try to imply that it is. They will say right from the start in their introductions or in all these different books, they'll tell you right away that the pronunciations that they've been using and that we use are just standardized convention, and we call it Egyptology speak. but it's more formally called classroom pronunciations. And all they've done is, well, the reason why is because the script of Seshew Medew Netcher, it has no documentation of the vowels. So all of the signs that you're looking at right here on this picture, they're all consonants. They're all representations of consonants. So, but you can't pronounce words without vowels. So what the early Egyptologists decided to do was to, for pronunciation purposes, to be able to discuss it, they just added an E in between all of the consonants for most of them. And then for particular words, they just came up with a standardized way of saying it. Like some people may say Amen, some people may say Amun, and some people say Hotep with an O instead of Hetep with it, which Hetep, things like that. So some of them may change, but none of these pronunciations are meant to be historically accurate. So I just want to put that out there because a lot of people may ask, well, how do you pronounce this? How do you pronounce that? And just know that these pronunciations are all tentative and they're changed. And there's a huge project underway to rediscover or to revive a more historically accurate pronunciations to these words. And that's done by a very meticulous, rigorous scientific method under the umbrella of historical comparative linguistics. All right, but that is a very long, tedious process, and it's underway. So in the future, we will have some more historical accuracy to these pronunciations, and we need to be flexible because I'm already familiar with some of the proposed reevaluation of some of these pronunciations, and it's going to take some time for us to adjust, because we're so used to saying words like Hotep, Ankh, Uja, or what, like we say Ankh, Uja, Sened. Kofi,
not too long
your
after you
mic,
had left, we had
Kofi.
went to what?
Somebody can mute his mic. Yeah, so these pronunciations are tentative, but they can change. And as I was saying, we're so used to saying things a certain way, especially the common ones we say every day, like we say Hotep, 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 or ETM Hotep, Uncle Jasineb, Inesh Harek, all these different ones that we say regularly. We're going to have to wrap our minds around the more historical accurate pronunciations of some of these words. Like even something as simple as Ma'at. Ma'at is going to change drastically. Well, to us, it's going to sound like it's a drastic change. But so I just want to put that out there. So when you ask, Satep, when you said Mesut, then yeah, that's perfectly fine, Mesut. And some people may break that up and say Mes Wet, like how Kofi said it as well. So we have Mes Wet or Mesut. Because if you put an E between each of the consonants, then it would be Mesawet. But most people don't say it all out like that. They just say Mesut, like how you just said it.
Yeah, I be chopping it up too though. So if it's, I'm just familiar with that his name. So I'm like Kofi too. Don't think I know it. Just I'll be chopping it up too. The Egyptological speech.
Yeah, what I find though is in terms of Egyptology speak, to be a good Egyptology speaker, what I found is that words that have 4 consonants and two syllables, like we have single one syllable or 2 syllables and things like that, then you would not include the E between the 2 syllables. So like for example, this one it would have 4 consonants, MSWT. So you put an E between each one, it would be Mesewet. But most people don't pronounce it that way. They'll pronounce it Mesut. So as 2 syllables, Mesut. And that's just, pretty much how you can kind of get by. And then ones that with 3 consonants, usually they'll break it up in half, where the first one, it'd be, you take the E out. But I mean, I'll say it when we get to one like that. But this is Mesut, pretty much. So Kofi, you still there? You can you left off at Mesut.
Okay, Mesut. Mesut. You're gonna see the honorific transposition. We were in Shinu. Were you still over on the Netsubiti?
Okay, no, you just said it. Okay, so
Okay.
we're on Nitsubiti,
Yeah, Netsubiti.
and then we're inside.
The Shinu, which I guess we see the honorific transposition right there, where the divinity will be honored and written first, but pronounced last. So I guess that would be uh, Kaura. Is
Okay.
that right? Kaura. Kaura gives life. Diunk gives life.
All right. Does anybody else have any comments about? Anybody else have comments about the first line?
Yeah, that was pretty good. It's basically his names. That's basically what I'm getting out of it. Is we're going over his names. Like you said, it's a epithet, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll do his names out first. Tell you who it is.
All right. All right. So, I'm trying to keep up with people that are in the chat. I can't. I'm sharing my screen. Let me see.
They talking about Kofi chopping it up.
I wanted
Okay.
to add in something about the bird. That first bird we came to and we couldn't identify it at first. Something that I do is when I get to a bird that I can't recognize real quick is go through and look through the rest of the glyph to see other birds. Like in the second column down, the second symbol, we see like a different bird. It's a different shape, and that looks more like a quail chick. So I would rule that out. And it's usually when they write the birds, they'll try and keep them the same on the inscription. So I don't know, trying to identify birds, maybe look at other birds in the glyph to try and help and narrow it down.
Okay. All right. All right. Let me.
Yeah, that was definitely a good point, June. Yeah, look at other birds.
Okay. Let me put it back on the picture here. All right. All right. So second line. Let's see. Make sure everybody is included in the chat. All right. So who's up for the second line?
I guess I'll go ahead and knock it out.
All right. So let's do this. If you do the second line, the third line, we will give to Sonatonica. Would you be able to do the third line?
Oh, okay, that's great. That's with the numbers, yeah.
All right. Okay. So, Sateb, you can go with the second line first. I just wanted to give the heads up for the third line.
Okay. So we got the I'll identify the signs first. I can't see your cursor yet.
Right here. Can you see my cursor?
Okay. All right. Yeah, I see it now. We got the Ankh symbol. We have the Haru bird sitting on the I think that stands for gold. I think it's like new. I believe it's new.
Naboo.
Yeah. I know it's a golden horse name. I just can't think of the transliteration.
Yeah, I think it's Naboo. NBW.
I think it's like S19, S29 or something. I think.
It's Naboo.
Well, like I said, the Gardner code is not important at this point.
Okay.
You have the
Yeah. It's the Haru sitting on the golden necklace, and then we have the duck with the Ra symbol above that. Then we have the water ripple right there. Then we have the I think that's like a it's a body part. I forget what it's called. I think the belly, maybe.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, we got the raised bread loaf, the horn viper. Yeah, the horn viper. And I forget what that symbol is called, but I know the Gardner codes for that. I just forget what it's called. I know it's Mary, but I just forget. It's like a table or something.
It's a
I think it's
canal, ain't
canal. Okay,
it?
canal. I'll speak Spanglish. I know half and half. Okay, so we got the canal, and
Hmm.
then we have the cobra again. Then we have the
You mean Viper? Viper.
yeah, the horn viper. My bad,
Hmm.
the horn viper. Then we have the basket, the new basket. Then we have the two symbols for land. Then in the Shanu, um, let's see, we have the water ripple. Or you want to start there? Or we
Oh
can,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
following
we
you. I'm
can,
sorry. I'm just following you
yeah, I
real
was gonna
quick.
say we can do an honorific or whatever. It don't matter. But that
Okay.
symbol right there, I forget what that is. I know the transliteration for it, but I forget what it is.
What's the transliteration?
It's usur,
Okay. Yep. All right.
and then you have the folded cloth next to that,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the open mouth, raised bread loaf, the door bolt, then the water ripple. Then you have the conical loaf after that, the ankh, and then the jed pillar. Then the wasp scepter.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the jed cobra, raised bread loaf, and then you have the flatland symbol again.
All right. So now, so you identified them obviously without giving like Gardner codes and things. But now for step three, what words do you recognize going through it? Or actually, right, basically you could do step three and four simultaneously, really.
I see ankh, which means life, and then you
Hmm.
got the golden horse name or golden Haru. You have Sarah, which is son of Ra. Then you have what's that? Nket F. So
Hmm.
it'll be of his body, I believe.
Hmm.
And Mary F. Um, let's see, Mary F. Of his body, Mary F. He's beloved or he's loved.
Hmm. Well, his beloved.
His beloved, Lord of the two lands.
Hmm.
You have honorific transposition, so we start with the doorbell. We'll say Sin Useret,
Okay.
and then you have I can't break that name down. I have to think real hard at that. I think it means like heat or man of Waset or Morset or something.
Okay.
Um, let's see. Then we have gives life, stability, dominion, forever.
Okay. All right. All right. That's good. Now, I just want to make a point that when we see the king's name inside the Shanu, and then we have the words afterwards, and we have the conical loaf represents D. So D, Unk, Jed, Was, Jet. So D is to give as a verb, but in this case, it's may he be given or given because the king is not the one who's doing the giving, he's the one receiving that which is given. So it's given life, uh, endurance or stability and dominion forever. So just keep that in mind. And same thing up here, given life at the top on the first line. Okay, so that's it. So hopefully people following along. I'm just gonna check in on the chat really quick if I can pull it up. Okay. The chat. All right. So I see. Let's see who's trying out. All right. There's Seshew Mupata. All right. Seshew
Yes,
Mupata made it in. All right. You know. Let's see. Brother Jehuti Ma'at, Her Nebu. Right. Some people say Her Nebu or Big Nebu. Big Nebu would be the golden falcon. All right. Or falcon of gold. Or we say Heru of
Sometimes
gold.
I'll know what they mean, but I won't know the transliteration for it, and then vice versa. It's weird the way I do it, especially when I'm freestyling. Like I'll know one, and then I won't know the other for the other one. So bear with me.
Oh yeah. That's, yeah, the brother Jehuti, I had put that in there. Just wanted to say some may put it as Her or Heru Nebu. Some may say Big Nebu, and either way, it's the Falcon of Gold, or they would say Golden Heru or whatever. All right, so that is line 2. So let's move on to line 3.
All right.
And let me get my cursor back so I can follow along here. All right, so we're gonna try to complete line 3.
All right. I'm doing line. Is Tanika doing line 3? Or am I doing line 3?
Twinika's doing
Okay.
line 3.
I don't know, but hey, you could do it if you wanted to.
Nah, I thought you said she
But
was
yeah,
doing 4. That's why I was like, you want me to do 2 lines?
Oh,
I can do
Yeah,
it
because you
still.
said 4. But yeah, go ahead, Tanika, get it in.
Okay. Yes. Well. Just looking through the signs, I can go through the first one. I don't know. I don't remember the name of it, but that's the rampant sign.
mm-hmm,
And then we have the raised braid loaf.
mm-hmm,
And then I don't remember the name of that sign as well, but that's the set sign. And then we have
Can y'all see
the
my?
number.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to follow you with my cursor. Can you see my cursor again? I guess it's going in and
Right.
out.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember the name, but that's it. And then we have the number 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the numbers 9. And then we have the moon sign. And then on the top, what we have is the house. And then we have the mouth. Then we have the raised bread loaf again.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the sun disk. And then we have the eye and the raised bread loaf again. And then we have that sign, that's the ham sign. What is it called again? The name. I'm not really good with the names, but that's the ham sign.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the single stroke, and then we have the viper, and then we have the raised bread loaf again.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have, I think that's the kill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we have the vulture. And then we have the pool, and then the diagonal cross. And then the little sign at the bottom, I think that's the town of the land or something like that. And then we have that's like the sedge with the mouth underneath it. And then we have, that should be the tongue again. And then we have the mouth. And then we have the 2 twisted flax. And then we have the 3 hills.
All right.
And
All right. So that's good. So that's step 1. Obviously, step 1 because you read from right to the left, and then step 2, you identified the signs that you
yeah,
ran through.
yes,
All right. So now,
right.
Um,
Okay.
what words can you group together or identify from here?
Well, obviously the very first signs all the way to the last number, the strokes,
Mm-hmm.
that would be one word for mentioning like a year,
Mm-hmm.
a time,
Wait,
and
you're saying from the
that
first sign all the way over to here. Can you see my cursor?
right all the way. Oh, sorry, no, my bad. All the way to the sandus. That's the damaged part. It should be the sandus, right below the raised bread loaf.
This one over here?
Right, right. Okay. That should mention the year and the season.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then we have then the next two signs should be another word.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
Um, okay.
you could combine step 3 and 4, cause
All right, I can
so
do that.
because of people watching.
Okay, so the very first one would be you actually say the it's Hatsep, and then Hatsep 10 Medew, and then which would be the Rignal year 10, and then you have Abed 9, which would be the ninth month, and then you have the season, which is the Peret,
Mm-hmm.
and that will be the season of emergence, and then you go to the next sign, which is the eye and the bread loaf, the raised bread loaf, and that's eat it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that is made, and then you have the next three signs, which is Hem F, and I'm not sure anybody on the panel can correct me on that one if it's is it His Majesty,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have Cha, the next three signs, that's Cha.
Okay.
I'm thinking, not really sure, but actually, mm, okay,
Yeah, you said cha. That's correct so
okay,
far.
good, okay. I wasn't sure if it was combined with the other signs because I was looking at the determinatives and whatnot, but I think that would be correct. It can be one, yeah, that would be one
Well,
word on that one.
well, give me the transliteration for
That
this,
that
so we'll
that
know.
would be okay. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be cha or chas mixing with the other one, but I wouldn't even know what it means.
Okay, but I'm saying spell the transliteration out for so we can So you're saying
Uh,
T, capital A, capital S?
yeah, T capital A, and then if it's together with the other word, it would be capital S because that's the pool, the water pool.
Right.
And then obviously I'm thinking still because of the determinatives at the two last determinatives at the end. So that's why I'm thinking either that's the whole of that should be one word.
Okay, so T, capital A, capital S. Tosh.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Tash. Not
Okay.
chas. Tash. And then what we have here is that's Resi
Okay.
with the yeah. And then we have Heh, the two twisted facts, and then with the last determinative. So that's probably a place.
Okay. All right. So um excellent. All right, so that was steps 1 through 4 for that line.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it's only the first ones make sense, but the word tash, I will know what it means.
Okay. But all right, so let's make a few comments about this one. So now these first 3 signs here spell out the word Hatseb, which is regnal year, and you said that. Now, the one thing I wanted to comment about is that on here you had the ninth month, but the months for the seasons there's only three.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that is true.
So these numbers go with the year. So it's the
Yes,
16.
yes. Yeah, so that would be 16, and then yeah, you are correct. So that the that's Hatshep 16, and then it will be Abed 3,
Hmm.
correct. And then Peret, yeah,
Okay.
season of Magic. So yeah, my bad. Yeah, there's only 3 months, 3
Right.
seasons.
Yeah. Okay. So actually it's
4 months and
4 months, three
3.
seasons. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So Hatshepsut. I mean, I said Hatshepsut. Hatshep 16. Abed 3, which would be the third month. So
right,
year 16, reading year 16, third month of the season of emergence. Peret.
right.
All right. So then we have what you said as Iret or Irit,
Hmm.
Hemeth, Tash, Resi, or Re, Hate. The last word. So
Right.
now let's so we have that beginning part of what that means, but now we're at Irit. So what can we make out of the rest of it as far as a meaningful translation for the rest of it?
Hmm.
I think I heard her say "erit" means to make. Is that right?
That's what I said.
Yeah. So
Okay.
to make His Majesty.
Okay. So so we have to
May.
make or make, and then we have His Majesty. Then we have Tash, which is a question mark. But Resi, what does Resi mean?
That would be South.
Okay, south. And
Right.
then this hey, we know hey is like eternity or eternal or everlasting and things like that. But it's this particular determinative, as you said, is a place. So this is a
Hmm.
place that's called by this name.
Right.
That's probably foreign. I mean foreign land. Would that mean foreign land? The three hills?
Not necessarily foreign. It just means that it's on the outskirts of different places because you have some places that are within the borders of Kemet that had that determinative as
Uh,
well. Like the very word Deshret is still within the nation of Kemet, but it had that determinative. Okay, so I'm gonna try to throw some hints out there. So we know this is a place. Okay, now we know the word this open mouth ra or ro um means towards or in regarding to. So something in regarding to this place. So Resi, you said it means south.
Correct.
So now you can kind of probably see what Tosh um, is, or have an idea that okay, we start here. So we have the year. So
Hmm.
something takes place within this year, the regnal year 16 of the third month of the season of emergence or Peret.
Right.
And so what is taking place? So this eret means to make or to do or to create or something like that. And then we have His Majesty, which is Hemeth. So and then blank southern towards or in regardings to this place.
Hmm.
So with that, you can kind of um, well, like I said, we're not using a dictionary or anything like that. So basically, if anybody on the panel, I mean, I don't want to, I just want to blur it out. I'm trying to throw some hints out there so that we can kind of,
What did you say that Ta was again?
what's it? What Tosh?
Did you say what Ta or Tash before? Just I don't know if
Oh,
I heard you correctly.
yeah,
I think he
Tosh.
said he didn't want to give it out.
Ah,
Yeah, I was
But
trying
what
to.
I think it's like the limits of a region, like the foremost of the edge of a region, like a boundary or something.
Hmm. Right. So yeah, that's it. So that's good. So
so that probably means that on that particular year, then they made a boundary. on the south of that particular place called
It
home.
makes sense because it's the boundary, Stella.
All right.
Yeah, it makes sense now.
Okay, so so what kind of border or what kind of boundary?
South?
South, southern, south.
Right, not south per se, but southern. You know, the
Southern.
southern border. All right, so the southern border, which is near or in regards to or towards, which is what this mouth would be, or towards, and into this place. So wherever this place was, is the nearby location that this southern border was made. Made by who? Him F, His Majesty.
Right.
All right, so that's the that's actually like the first line in the text because all of this was dealing with the titulary of the king, you know. So yeah, I guess this would be considered the first line of the actual inscription. So yeah, all right, excellent, that's good. And then also I want to point out that see this part is damaged, but a lot of times I think Brother June mentioned this earlier too in regards to birds. Sometimes when you can't make out a particular sign or glyph, then look elsewhere inside the inscription also. And sometimes you can't make it out because of damage, and sometimes you can't make it out. Well, most of the time it'll be because of damage or some fading or some damage done. So a lot of times you can look elsewhere and find the same sign or even the same word sometimes, and then you can make it out. You know, like for example up here where you have Behudet, up here on this one, it looks like there's an extra little something to that sign, so it may throw you off. You're like, wait a minute, is that the Hotep sign or what? But you can see that was just an added defect on this artifact right here, because over here we see it without that it's clean. So we have the elephant tusk or the tusk right here, and so this is the tusk as well, but it has this little chipping away defect right there. This channel, water channel symbol here, we have a little chip, and then here's a lot. You know, it's a big you know, chip away or whatever the case is, but you can pretty much make that out. So I just want to point that out that you can see. And then also, I may be jumping ahead, but a lot of times you may see words repeat. So like we see this word here, Tosh, which is this complete word here. And then if you look, you can see the same thing repeated down here. So a lot of times if you couldn't make it out up here, because down here is a little more damage than up here. Okay, so I'm just giving these are kind of clues that we work with to figure out the rest of it. All right, so let's do one more. Unless somebody in the chat, anybody in the chat want to let me see who's in the chat that may want to chime in. All right, let me ask this: anybody in the chat want to join the panel right now? Jump in the hangout and give the next line a shot. Yes, no, or maybe so. Sean volunteering people. Not me, but the brother Shesmu. Yeah. All right. Okay, I don't know if it's like a delay, but all right, let's keep going. Maybe somebody keep their eye out. Maybe somebody.
Yeah, I'll be on the lookout.
Okay. All right. So the next line. Anybody want to give that one a shot?
Anybody in the panel? You mean?
Shesmu said, "What's up?"
Shesmu don't want this work, man.
Put him in the chat. Put him in the panel. Put him on the panel.
He says he's not ready. But yeah, so as long as everyone is getting the gist of the method, and even though we're not using the tools, we're still following the method. You identify the signs as best as you can, and then you see this. Doing this without the help of the sign list or the dictionary is just like a workout. It's exercises. It's a workout because what you're doing, you're practicing. It's forcing you to use all of the other available clues. It's almost as if you blindfold yourself, and then once you blindfold yourself, now you have to rely on your other four senses. So now you're keened in on your other four senses to maneuver and do things. So what this does, it handicaps us by stripping away the sign list and the dictionary. Now we have to lean on the other clues that will allow us to properly, transliterate and translate. All right, so just keep that in mind. So these are good exercises to do, and I recommend that anyone who's studying Seshew, Medew, Netcher, or Rodney Kemet to do this, either with yourself or with some like-minded people. All right, or come in and get with us. Because we do this all the time. We just do Freestyle Friday as far as broadcasting and everything like that, but we do this all the time. All right. But anyway, all right. So back to it. We are on the next line. I believe Brother Chris opened his mic so he can do it.
All right, start with the next line. We got reed leaf, a quail chick. I don't know if you showing your mouse so that they could like follow along.
Yeah, can you see it? I'm following my cursor. Can you all see my cursor?
Oh, now I see it. Okay. The next is the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Beneath that we have the water ripple. We have a seated man. Then we have the raised bread loaf. Then underneath that we have the kill. Directly behind that we have the vulture, the G1 vulture, the Egyptian vulture.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have a pool of water. Underneath that we have the X, Z9. Then we have a strip of land underneath that.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have a seated man again.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Kenti, like it's the one with the 4 jugs instead of the 3.
Mm-hmm.
Behind that we have the phonetic complements. We have the water ripple and the raised bread loaf underneath that.
Mm-hmm.
Then underneath that we have a boat. Look like it's pretty simple. It looks like the first boat in that category. Then we have another seated man.
Mm-hmm.
Behind him we have a kind of hard to see, but it's a reed leaf. And behind that we have a raised bread loaf with the horned viper underneath that.
Mm-hmm.
We have a seated king or divinity.
Mm-hmm.
Behind him, he has 3 strokes.
Mm-hmm.
And we have another seated man. Behind there, we have the M17 reed leaf. Behind there, we have the quail chick. Then we have the open mouth. We have a hand with a conical loaf. And then we have the water ripple underneath that. And we have another seated man.
Okay. All right. So that's step 2 and step 1 because you read from right to left, so that's obvious for step 1. Step 2, identify the signs. So now you go through and group the signs into words as best as possible and give the meaning. You could do step 3 and step 4 as you go.
Mm,
or at least step 3.
all right, we'll have the reed leaf and the quail chicken go together. That's I don't know if it's you call it a particle or participle. Forget. Do you have ear, which is a word. Basically, you have ear and e. You have the eye with the water ripple with the seated man,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have toss, border. Uh, we have a seated figure behind him, so it's probably that's like my border. And then we have Kenty. You have the water jugs with the water ripple and the T. That'll be a group. Well, with the also this boat determinative. So I guess for sailing forward into a general direction. So I guess towards the border. So that'd be I guess Kenty with this another figure seated man behind him. So I guess it'd be I'm sailing towards my border. That'd be Kent dot E. Then we have the reed leaf, raised bread, the the horn viper underneath with the seated figure and the plural strokes, and then another seated figure for I guess that'll be the dot I. So I guess this whole thing that'd be a plural for a father. So I guess it to you. So my fathers,
Mm-hmm.
forefathers, something to that sort. Then
Mm-hmm.
we have the particle again.
Mm-hmm.
Then I guess we got that's ready E.
Okay. All right. So, all right, now let's
Ready
look.
and E. Well, yeah, ready and E.
Mm-hmm. So now let's go through it and make it make sense in a translation.
Mm.
I mean, you kind of did it when you
Yeah.
know you were going through it, but I was just basically saying it. Come up with a more fluid translation of what we're dealing with.
I guess it'd be like as I was making my border,
Mm-hmm.
I was selling. I guess selling towards my border given to me by my forefathers. That's what I would have. The ready end, it'll be selling towards the border given to me by my forefathers.
Okay. Does anybody else on the panel have any comments about it?
It's
Anybody?
look good to me. It's a lot of them pronouns in there.
Yeah.
That's when that grammar come in, man. So
I mean,
Yeah.
you usually don't even see them, but I mean,
yeah,
they're actually here for this one.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
mean,
Right.
no guesswork.
right.
Okay. Well, but that's true. See, this is where grammar would definitely help out, because like you said, Chris, you were saying particle, but this is the reed leaf and the quail chick are what's called an auxiliary word, and this word is very hard to translate in English. Matter of fact, it goes untranslated a lot of times, and it's basically a trigger or a signifier that something is being stated in a more matter-of-fact way, like
Yeah,
something that's definitive. So this pretty much goes untranslated, but
yeah,
it
something
also,
that's usually true.
right. And this also signifies that you're beginning a sentence because this auxiliary is usually found at the beginning of a sentence. So if you notice it here and then you notice it over here, So this ready in E doesn't go with the rest of this, because this starts off a new sentence. So we will stop right here. I mean, in terms of the translation. And this kind of speaks to the point I mentioned earlier, that these lines, these rows, these lines of rows, they don't necessarily, even though we're doing it, one by row, and each different ones of us are doing it row by row, but that doesn't necessarily means that it ends. The end of the row means the end of the sentence, et cetera, et cetera. So this sentence would begin where you began, but it would actually end right here. And how do we know that? Is because of this auxiliary right here. It's usually placed at the very beginning of a sentence. Okay, so that's just, but that's part of just knowing that to be the case dealing with the grammar. All right, so, but yeah, all right, so you have a lot of the pronouns in here, and they're actually the first person singular pronouns of I, my or I. So on the verb it'll be I, on the noun it'll be my, so in possession. So we have ir, any, which what did you translate? You said I made, or I forgot what you said for that. Ir, any.
Yeah, that's what I originally said. I guess, I mean, there'd be a yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, because ir means to do, to make, to create, to bring about something, all that. So, and then we have the same word up that was up here, so tash, so we know that's border, as you mentioned for the other line above. So the border. So we're dealing with the now knowing the grammar as well, we know that this construction here, ir in E, is a past tense, something that's done. So this would mean that I made past tense, or I created past tense, or I established past tense, or something to that effect. So ir in E, I made, and then we have tash E, as you said, another pronoun. So my border here. And now this word, I believe you said sailing towards, I forgot, maybe you refresh, you said sailing towards maybe the border of my forefathers, or given to me. Well, we know that this is not part of this.
Yeah, that's what I originally said. So I guess it'd be sailing towards the border of my forefathers.
Okay, right, all right. Um, we have, right, all right, now, so this is eat, which is fathers, and then you have the plural. So this is for fathers here. All right, and the borders. But now sailing is not necessarily, may not be implied here, only because I
I
say that.
mean, yeah, well, going for it or anything that way. I just kind of said that because of determinative, but
Okay, well, no, reason why I'm saying that is because the way this is constructed, you have the verb first, so it wouldn't be like sailing because we already have the verb here. And like I said, this is like dealing with the grammar. So this word is actually um, trying to interfere with this word here, tosh. So it's the kind of tosh, the border. So what kind of border um, are we dealing with? So Kent, means the front, the face,
Foremost, right?
foremost, right?
The foremost,
So it's
foremost border.
so it's alluding to something that is stretched out or sticking out, the most stuck out part of the border, wherever the case is, of the forefathers. So we have the border, and then we have the part that sticks out of the forefathers. So this is almost to say is that he made a border that extends a little bit further than the borders of my forefathers. So that's what's being applied until we read the rest, we could probably definitely confirm that. But I kind of wanted to stop here and just see how much time, because this is taking up some time, and I don't want to lose anybody that's in the chat. Is he a Nubian king? No. The brother Shezmu Patah asks, is he a Nubian king? What bird is that used in the auxiliary? Okay, he has it. The quail chick. Oh, he's asking quail chick or saw bird. It's the quail chick. It's the reed leaf and the quail chick. Yeah, so we can keep going. I don't know how far. Let's see, how long have we been on? We haven't been on 2 hours yet.
Just an hour and a half.
Okay. Well, we can keep going. Is everybody satisfied with that one? With that? Anybody?
Yeah, it looked good. Yeah, because like I said, man, that was a tough line because it had a lot of them pronouns in there. So I think he did a good job with it.
Yeah, definitely. And and then putting this, like I said, putting this to practice, it kind of just lets you self-evaluate, and the more practice, the more self-evaluation that we can all do, and then you'll kind of be moved to learn the grammar as well, because there's grammatical elements in this line, especially like the first line, all of the lines, but it sticks out in the line that you just did, Chris. So because we have all these pronouns here. And the question becomes, well, how do we know it's a pronoun and not a determinative? And that comes with learning about the grammar, and you'll kind of know that these are not determinatives. We see the determinatives here, determinatives for Tosh, and then we have the next sign here, seated man. So that's the first person singular pronoun I, or me, I, and things like that. Okay, so the next line. Anybody want to start the next line? And keeping in mind that we basically cut off in terms of translation. We cut off this line right here, even though you already identified the signs, but we know because it's auxiliary here, which is most Egyptologists will pronounce this as you, but it'll go untranslated, but they'll pronounce it as you. So you, ready, and ni. So with this one, we might as well say what it is, even though we know it doesn't go with this sentence here. So this is saying I gave. And then we can keep it going. So ready means to give, or D means to give, and this is past tense, so it's I gave, or sometimes the word give means to allow, because like when you give something, it's like I give it, or I allow it something to happen as well. So just kind of keep that in mind. Into ready. All right. So next line. And anybody in the chat, if you want to hop in on the panel, just give the word. Anybody? No takers? All right. So, June, do you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, the next line.
Yeah.
All right. We're reading right to left. The first sign is that's like in the plants. I think that's a triliteral for Mehu. Next we have the quail chick. The next sign after that is the hotep, the offering table, with the 3 strokes underneath that. Underneath that we have the head. biliteral HR.
Mm-hmm.
Next sign after that is the folded cloth S29. The next sign, I'm not sure. It looks like a vertical Z.
Is that the scepter of authority? Second?
I think it's what June said. It's a door. I think it might be the door bolt just standing up for aesthetic reasons. But yeah, we keep going though.
That's what it looks like. And next after that is another quail chick. Uh, Next after that is the raised bread loaf X1. Another hotep. Alright, another hotep table. And then underneath that is a water ripple N35 with the seated man. I think that's A1. Yeah, A1. Next after that, what is that? I can't make that one out. I don't know what that one is.
It's that first person singular.
Sound like your little one's trying to do some translation. She's like,
I think you're trying to guess. Yeah, I'm stuck on that one. Underneath that, we have the basket with the handle, V31, another seated man. Next after that, we have the biliteral 2. Next after that is the bread loaf X1. Underneath that, N35, water ripples, seated deity. After that, next we have the cobra with the hand. Under that, next is the quail chick. Next we have the eye, and then the open mouth under that. Next is another quail chick. We have another basket with handle, followed by 2 vultures. Vultures, and then a bread loaf X1.
okay, good. All right, good, really good. Um,
So I would try and what's that? Mehu, Hotep, hair Sezu, Sezut, Hotep, Ne. I still am stuck on that sign. Something Ek E, Nasut, Jedu, Ir U, or is that Ir U, Ek. That would be my trying to do the Egyptology speak on those signs.
all right.
And
Now,
then,
how would you, what would be your best guess at translations?
as you said, the last word from the previous column is most likely be the beginning of this new sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was that? RDNE was that I gave,
Mm-hmm.
and then Mehu is that Southern. Uh, Mehu, Hotep is like peace, and then hair is um, upon, and then I'm gonna have to be stuck on this next one. SZU, or maybe that's SCUT. I'm not sure what that is, what that translates to. And then I think it says peace, Hotep and E. Yeah, I'll be real choppy on this translation. And then, but if I go down, I do recognize the Nasut, and then after Nasut is Jed, which is it's actually Jedu, so that'd be like saying. And then the ear is to make, and then with the quill chick after that, maybe Iru, Iru, and then the basket with the handle after that uh, is the ek. That might be the pronoun for and then I'm not sure what the last two vultures with the bread loaf will translate to either.
All right, how about anybody else on the panel? Give it a shot as far as translations. How about anybody in chat? Anybody in chat? Giving it.
I'm not sure about the translation, but looking on that line, I'm thinking the one where you have the Hotep sign, could it be the scroll with ties? Probably, especially the one with the three strokes, and then, but yeah, because sometimes they do kind of look alike, but it would make sense that it would be the scroll with the ties.
Say that again.
You know the two signs that June read as Hotep,
Right.
as the offering table. I'm thinking that it could be the scroll with ties on both.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's a good eye because, yeah, and that's where we draw upon the clues because it wouldn't quite make sense, coming out the wash. You would be, say Hotep, and then this be Hotep. That really doesn't, especially this one, over here. So then if you switch it and say, okay, this is the Y1, Gardner Y1, which is the tied scroll, which is a determinative used or classifier used to denote abstractions, So if we start off here, we have U, ready, and E, and then over here where we pick up. So it is I give or I gave, past tense, and then we pick up here. Now, you were saying that this is Mehu, Mehu, and so to be Mehu, her. But I mean, that's a perfectly reasonable. Well, I scrolled up. Excuse me. It's a perfectly reasonable transliteration and translation. Mehu her. But when you keep reading one, especially when you replace this from being a Hotep offering table to the tied up scroll, then this is one of those words that you would kind of or a phrase I should say that you would kind of just become familiar with, seeing it in other places from time to time. This is not something. So this is one of those phrases like Hotep di Nasut or Jed Medu in. It's not quite a formula. It's not as common to call it a formula, but it's a phrase that's used together. So this all of these glyphs right here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 glyphs here constitutes a phrase, and I'm just familiar with it from seeing it elsewhere and dealing with it. So this together with this first word here, ready and need, which is I give, and then this is usually saying something to the effect of I am giving something. I'm giving something. How can I say it? I am giving an extension of something. That's what this is gonna imply. and it's hau her, which is to extend or to add on to extend, something to that effect. So I'm giving an extension, or I gave an extension. And like I said, I only know this because of some other texts, and that's what it would apply to other texts. So it may not be exactly the same in this text, but we can find out, and we just keep going. So you identified this. I know Satep said this may be the door bolt that's standing straight up for aesthetic reasons, but this word here, the folded cloth, and then what's believed to be the door bolt, the quail chick, bread loaf, and now we know that this is the scroll, tied scroll, and then NE. So this is NE. Um, so we know this NE is either trying to imply past tense, like how we have ready NE, or it's to me. It's NE, literally meaning to me, separate words, to me. So we know this is to me, or it could be past tense, either one of a verb, or to me, meaning something. Now, just knowing this is being familiar with the grammar, this by this ending in a T, this becomes something, an item, something that's given to me. So to me or for me. Okay, so now it kind of give us a clue to what this would be, or whatever. It would help us out if we didn't know, and right now we don't know. But this is S, and I can say that this would be a command. This is from the word wedge, wajut. In this case, it'd be W capital D, and it means to decree or to command. And then the folded cloth in front of it is a causal prefix, which means to cause to be decreed or commanded. And by it being a T on the end and the scroll with the tie scroll, it's makes it a noun. So we're dealing with something that was something that was commanded or decreed to me. And it probably makes sense when we go back. And then Satep, you already said what this one was, right?
Yeah, and that it's the
Right.
first person singular, meaning I.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So that's the new bowl.
Yeah. No, that's the basket. That's the new ball with the basket with the hand.
Okay, yeah. All right, dang. Yeah, now this whole line is making sense. Now y'all, we going over it. Thanks.
Okay, so now we know.
Ball is not really clear to tell anyway. It doesn't look
Yeah,
really
yeah,
look
it's
like
kind of
ball.
hard. I just remember, like he said, like he remembered how to see. I always remember that little formula right there with the new bowl and the basket and the man behind it.
hmm Okay, so we have you said Inuk or Inek, or Nuk, Nek, um, for I or I am or I'm. And then what do you have for this one, June? You had said it, I believe. King.
The soup.
Okay. Translated as king. So we have I am or I'm king, and then Jedu, Eru, and then we have a K double A T, the capital double A capital T. So does anybody can kind of render that out as a translation, something that makes sense? Hmm.
Yeah, that's a tough one there. Jadu saying, I am the king. Um, Sang,
Mm-hmm.
To make.
Okay.
Uh,
Now see this whole Stella. I mean, and this is where the importance of grammar is definitely going to show its face. And I know that anyone who's learning Seshew Netcher for the first time on a beginner's level, we don't go into details about grammar. We give very basic grammar just to get by, so we can kind of tentatively kind of get by with recognizing the glyphs and coming around with make sense out of some of it. But to really get down to it, there is going to be a requirement of knowing more about the grammar, because this wouldn't make sense unless you do know a little bit more about the grammar than what people would normally learn at a beginner's level. So it would be kind of unfair for someone at a beginner's level, but this is motivation though. So like I said, this auxiliary here starts off the sentence you, ready and knee, and then we have hau, her. Then we have sawet with an S, and then swejut, ini, and then inuk, insut or nisut, jedu, eru, and then we have kak or kak. So in order for this to make sense, we would have to know that, okay, this starts off another sentence. Inuk, I'm king. Inuk, nisut, I am king. And then the grammar of this next part will let us know that this is related to this first part. So I am king whom speaks. So jedu with this quail chick here, we would normally think of plural, but it's marking the verb to say it's relative to this king here. I am king who speaks. And then this next one is eru, and who makes. So I am king who speaks and makes or creates or does. And then kak, even if we don't know what that word means, is probably related to what is done. So kat could be something as work or things or whatever the case is, but we know that is claiming that I am king whom speaks and who does blank or makes blank, even if we don't know what kat means in this case right now, because like I said, we're not using dictionaries and everything, and I don't know off the top of my head what the KAAT actually is, but just the grammar alone lets me know that this is something that the king does. So in other words, so to go back to the beginning here, it's saying that I have allowed or I have given, and then this hau, her, it carries the meaning of adding on to or to extend something. So I have given an extension, or I have given an addition of what was commanded to me, or what was decreed to me or commanded to me, and then that's it, period. Then we have I am king who speaks and who does whatever this means, and that's it. So normally we would use the dictionaries and confirm, we would verify exactly what all of these things mean, but right now we're not using that. So, but does that make sense though? I mean, the only thing we're missing is whatever kak would mean.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense because, like I said, I was guessing and I was close, but like you said, I said saying, you said to whom says. So I mean, like you said, we don't know the grammar yet, but once we get there, boy, it's gonna be on the flow. I can feel it now.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So this should serve as motivation though.
Yeah, it definitely does.
To learn, because you can recognize the words, so okay, jed, all right, that means to say ear, and we have the R, the phonetic complement possibly for the ear, so ear means to make or to do, so you can recognize that, so you're like, okay, to say, to do, but
right.
the grammar is where you can start to make better sense of the flow of what's being what's being recorded right here. All right, so so that's it. I mean, I you know, I don't know if we want to go any further further along, but after I believe we've been on 2 hours. Anybody else? Trying to see the chat here. Where is the chat? Okay, I'll try the next line. Extending the borders. Hey, I'm clueless on a lot of this. Yeah. Okay. So listen, and I see Monica saying, yeah, it's saying the same. Yeah, you know, I don't know how you all feel. You wanna we could open up we have room for people to come on in who are participating.
Yeah, I think we got, well, we got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we got room for about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got room for 4 people if 4 people want to jump in.
All right, so let's see how that goes. Let me see. Let me pass this link on over.
First 4 people, just post it in the group. First 4 people join, you in here.
Seshew Patah said he said he'll try the next line.
All right, let me find him on here. All right, brother Sean, I just sent you the link. Seshew Patah, I just sent you the link. And let's see if we can pull somebody else.
Yeah, so I want Jehudi on here. Jehudi, you still on here?
And don't run now.
It'd be a good build.
All right, Sister Monica sent you the link, and Jehudi Ma'at. So we see you pop on here. But yeah, anybody have any comments while we're seeing who was able to come on in?
Yeah, man, I'm ready for this grammar. Hungry for it. Cause like you said, man, like we can identify it, and then but it's just like making sense of it. That's the hard part, and that's what. So.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, the grammar, when you study the grammar, it's gonna open up a whole another level of all right, let's see, brother Seshew is on. Give me a second, I'll activate your thing and everything. All right, so Hotep, brother Seshew Patah, welcome to the hangout.
Dua ETM Hotep, thank you, and I humbly join the session. I appreciate the invite, and
All
I
right.
will give my best effort.
Yeah, that's the best is all that one can do. So excellent. Yeah, but I was gonna say though, in studying the grammar, the grammar definitely opens you up to see things a lot differently, a lot clearer, and things will be a lot more organized and orderly once you wrap your mind around the different aspects of grammar. Because as you know, every language, pretty much every language on the planet that's used in a useful way, in order for any language to be useful, it has to follow some kind of rules and regulations. Otherwise, you're left with you're left with an ambiguous soup. And anything that's full of ambiguity is useless, because the entire point of languages is to communicate. And that's the thing. I had a conversation earlier, and I was talking about languages in general. Why, the fact that we are not telepathic creatures. So when we communicate, what we're trying to do is we're trying to put our thoughts in the minds of another person. And because we're not telepathic, we can't do that directly. So we have to use some kind of medium to do that with. And there's different mediums. We have sign language, we have body gestures, We have even sounds that we wouldn't even call words. And then we have words. And words is what makes, and all of these things makes up our language. Like we speak English, but a lot of us talk. I know I talk with my hands. You know, some people talk with their body language, their eyebrows, their facial expressions, and all this. So all of these things are devices or tools or vessels where meaning can be conveyed from one person to another. So if you look at I'm gonna pause for a second. I want to take time out to welcome who's that? Brother Sean and Sister Monica. All right. So Ichim Hotep, welcome to the session and hangout.
Hey.
All right. So what I was saying though, so if we look at communication, that way, that the whole point is to convey meaning from one person to the next, and meaning is semantics. Semantics as a scientific field is the study of meaning. So when we discuss meaning, we're dealing with the semantics or the meaning, and that's what we're trying to transfer. But in doing so, we use all of these different devices, such as words, such as body language, such as, as I was saying, those things. And so because the whole point is to convey meaning, then we want to convey it the best way possible, because we don't want to be misunderstood. If we had it our way, we would just directly teleport our thoughts into somebody else's mind, which would be telepathy, but we can't and we don't. So the goal is to use whatever language or whatever device possible that eliminates as much ambiguity as possible, because you want to be understood. You want your thoughts to match the other person's thoughts who are receiving it. So grammar is the rules and regulations that regulates this. Because if you didn't have grammar, if you didn't have syntax and things, then everything would be everywhere. And it would be too much ambiguity going on, and then the language that you're using that doesn't have grammar and syntax, it'd be useless. Okay? So the usefulness of any particular language is its ability to convey meaning with the least amount of ambiguity at any given point. So with our understanding of that, then it kind of eliminates these arguments that people have about different languages or which language is better than the other and so on and so forth. We should no longer look at it like that. When people say English is the bastard language, it's the language of confusion, language of this and that and the third, that's really just circular arguments or whatever, because it just so happens that people are using English and they're very successful at using English and successful at life and successful at accomplishing goals, whether those goals are good, bad, or ugly. They're successful at it, utilizing English. So the potency of any particular language should depend on its ability to convey meaning with the least amount of ambiguity. So I say that to say that even within different scientific fields, this is the reason why people create subsets of a particular language that we call a nomenclature. And all that is a set of words, keywords that you use and that you're defining very, very specifically to convey whatever it is that you're dealing with. So like, for example, in law, anybody that studies law or want to become a lawyer, there is a language of lawyers, but they're speaking English, or we recognize the words that they're using in and of itself, but the way lawyers and the way that the court system, judicial system use even our everyday words, it may use it a little differently. And I always give the example of the word person, P-E-R-S-O-N, person. In a courtroom, a person can, like on the streets, I should say, in regular conversation, a person is a flesh and blood sentient human being. But in a courtroom, a person can be a business, or several, different businesses and things like that. That could be a person, and so on and so forth. But we wouldn't use it that way in a regular conversation. So that usage would be a subset. And all you're doing, you're using the same word, but you're creating a different meaning. You're conveying a different meaning. Okay. So in learning the grammar with ancient Egyptian, it allows you to know the rules that allows the language to be effective. And okay, I see the brother Sean pop back in. It allows you to know the rules in order to see the value or see the usefulness and the potency of the language itself. To convey meaning from one person to the other with at least the least amount of ambiguity as possible, little to none. Okay, and Seshew Netcher actually uses a lot of different devices or aspects or elements that narrows it down even more. Unlike English, and this is why people will say English is the language of confusion, because English doesn't have as many elements within it to reduce the ambiguity. Because in English you have a whole bunch of synonyms, you have homonyms, and synonyms and homonyms exist in pretty much every language. But in other languages, they have a way to reduce this blurriness or this vagueness or this ambiguity. Okay, so that's what makes it different. That's what makes this particular language different. The relationship between the spoken language and what's written, that we call Seshew Netcher. That relationship and the power that it has in its ability to use these different pictorial signs in multiple ways, way more than we have available to us in English. It allows this language to be very, very potent, very, very scientific, slash spiritual in nature. So this is one of the reasons why Seshew Netcher or Rani Kemet or the script lasted so long, because it has devices, it has elements within it that allows for it to be potent for a long time. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, of the importance of learning the grammar. So grammar is essentially the ma'at of language. It is the law, rules, or regulations of a language that if it weren't there, then it would be useless. So it lets us know the relationships of these various different words, because all of these words, when we speak, they have relationships to one another, and words are defined based on how they relate to each other. And I don't want to go too all off, but hopefully this kind of motivates everyone to really see the seriousness of learning the grammar after learning the basics on a beginner's level. You have to lay the foundation first, of course, but anybody who takes this serious and wants to go further, they will have to learn the grammar, and hopefully this motivates people to learn it. Because stopping at just learning a couple of signs and stuff like that, that's cool for people who just that's their intention. They just want to know what a couple of the signs mean. They want to be able to go to a museum and recognize a few things. But then you have people who want to go much further than that. They want to know what's said, and not only what's said, they want to know, hey, can I apply that stuff? Because Kemet was like on point with the civilization. Everybody knows the greatness of Kemet, but man, what made these people so great? Does anything in the text that they left behind, that the ancient Egyptians left behind, does anything give us clues on how they developed their mind to be able to come up with all of these different things that we glorify today? And anybody that has that kind of thoughts and things, you'll lean towards wanting to know more, and then obviously more would be you're gonna have to learn the grammar. You have to learn the grammar. And I don't care any language you learn, if you don't use the language properly, then you're not using whatever particular language to its full potential anyway. So this is no different. Everyone's going to have to learn the grammar eventually. So just wanted to kind of put that out there. But so we have more people on the panel. We can continue with the next line. I know brother Shazmu Patah said he'll give a stab at it. And like I said, we're doing it from the top of our heads. no books, no dictionaries, no sign list or whatever. So I believe we were on the next line. So maybe Shesmu Patai, if you want to, you could um, now by now I'm sure you know the steps, step 1 through 4, but you can give us step 1. Well, we already did step 1 for the whole inscription, but step 2, if you can identify some signs on the line. So let me put my cursor back up. We're on this line here. If you can see my cursor.
Do I? I
All
can
right.
see it.
Okay, yeah. So maybe if you go through here, just identify what signs you can.
Right. And I was gonna mention that yeah, only steps 1 and 2 is probably what I'm possibly capable of doing. We know that it's being read from right to left because we're going into the face of either the animals or the seated uh, beings.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
So
so
the first sign symbol looks it's looks like it's a vertical symbol. Looks like a staff, but I think that might be the innards of an animal or the spine. I'm not sure.
okay, let's
And
go to the next one.
then we have the seated man,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe the next symbol is whoa. Hold on, let me click on your screen. Okay. Then the I believe that's a stool for P maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and then the quail chick.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the dung beetle or kepper, and then the R with the open mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and the raised bread loaf, which is a T, and I believe that bird is an A, or I don't think it's a vulture, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then is, that is the hand. No, that's not the hand. That's the. Is that the arm giving?
Mm-hmm. That's the arm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that's a D. And then you have the seated man, and then I think we have another. Is that another A, or is that a
Okay.
different bird? It might be a different bird. Maybe the vulture. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Then we have the hand,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's the D. The other
Okay.
one I think maybe in B. And then we have the quail chick,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's is that a snake or a serpent? I
Okay.
can't see what that is.
All right, let's go
And
on to the next
then
one.
below that is the open mouth, the R,
Mm-hmm.
and I see the okay. I'm not quite sure what that horizontal symbol is. I've seen it before, but not quite sure. And I think below that are the two T's, the two raised bread loaves. And that might be a standing man after the two T's. And then behind that at the top, I think that is uh, maybe a scroll, the divine symbol.
I just realized my cursor may be blocking your view, so I'm trying to follow you, but not cover it with my cursor. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a horizontal symbol, but it looks like it's got two dots above it. I can't quite make it out. It's a line. I'm not sure. Could be water ripple. I'm not sure. I think it's got two shadows within the bar, and below that is too damaged for me to see if there's anything below that. And
Okay.
then there's another bird. I think that's a A, and then a quail chick, and the standing man either working or holding a like in control or scepter
Mm-hmm.
or ruler,
Mm-hmm.
and then the open mouth, which is an R.
Okay. Excellent. That's really good. Definitely. So, well, before moving on, let's see who else is in here. We have Brother Sean and Sister Monica. Does either one of you have any comments about what Brother Shesma Patah did? Do you see anything that needs to be corrected or added on to?
Nope, he did a good job.
All right.
I did recognize some of it though.
All right. Brother Sean, I don't know if your mic is working, but I think you are muted.
Nah, I had it muted.
Okay, you have anything to add?
Nah, man. I mean, he did a really good job. Except, I mean, where he went with the horizontal above the mouth symbol in the middle. I believe we're in the center. Um, i- is that not the F?
You mean right here where my cursor is now?
Yeah.
That is a alligator,
Oh,
crocodile.
how's that? Oh, okay. Yeah, that thing look weird.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that was good because you said, okay, like you said, there's damage here, so that would have to be figured out. And like I said before, when you're looking at damaged parts of any inscription, a lot of times you just try to look for the same word or same formation elsewhere. And we can kind of scroll through, and you will kind of see if it's elsewhere, like how we had the word Tosh up here. That's pretty clear, and then over here it's not so clear, but it's not as damaged as what we're dealing with. But over here we can see the red loaf is a little damaged, and this kiln is damaged a little bit, but over here it's clearer. So that's pretty much how you would kind of do that, or by you being familiar with the word itself. And what else I was gonna add? Okay, yeah, brother Shesmu, you said that this is a D. You correctly said that this hand is the D, but this one is different. So you want to revisit this one, the arm? Do you know what that stands for?
Not sure what the manual decoded or the word, but I think it means to give, or it's like giving, possibly.
Okay, that's true. But this will be transliterated as an A, like the
Oh,
arm is
okay,
an A, and this
okay.
one will be a D. All right. So yeah, that's excellent. Anybody else on the panel? Any comments about that?
Yeah, he did a pretty good job for real. Shazmuda came a long way.
Yeah, definitely.
He identified at least 85% of the signs accurately, so I'm
Hmm.
satisfied with it.
Okay. Now, all right. So let's pick up then. Let's pick up with what we can see in terms of words and meanings. Anybody want to tackle that, or you want to go to the next line as far as just identifying some signs? Put some more practice in identifying signs. Could we have another line? Well, it's a whole bunch of lines left, but okay. Well, on my screen, I thought we were almost at the bottom, but no, we are definitely
Long
not.
way.
Yeah, we're definitely not at the bottom here.
Brother,
Okay.
Brother Rujal, does the next line go with that line that we just identified? Does it kind of? Well, I know the whole thing goes together, but particularly do those two lines kind of join each other? The sentences join together,
Um.
kind of like
Yeah.
the other line. I think line two went with three. No, it was four.
What?
No, two.
What
Yeah,
one?
Yeah, you was right.
the end of two went with three.
Yeah, the end of this one went with this one and continued, and then we know that this one stops pretty much here because we're dealing with an independent pronoun of I. So we have I am. So I am the king. So we know this is pretty much beginning another sentence, but this can actually continue on here because we have. Oh, that's another thing. Okay, you were questionable about this first sign here, and I don't know if it's just
Right.
from my screen or what, but this is a stroke that's underneath the sign. So now if I give you that kind of hint, now you could probably revisit and figure out what this is. This is a stroke,
Okay.
a single stroke that's underneath a symbol.
Okay. So, um, I don't think it's a heart, but it might be the her
Okay, well actually
symbol.
Yeah, you got it right. You got the translation right.
yeah,
Right.
you would have completely defeated your own self, but you were right. You were right. It is the symbol of the heart.
Okay. Okay. It's the heart then.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay.
And then you have the seated man next to it, so it'll be ib e. So my heart or my mind. Now Now I want to make this comment that um, in Egyptological books that teach the language, they will say that this single stroke is a stroke that means that the glyph that it accompanies, that you should take it literally, or it is what you're seeing, and that's just not true. This stroke signifies a logogram, all right, which means that the sign that it accompanies is associated with a word, not the object that you see necessarily, although they can overlay. So in other words, if you follow what Egyptological books are saying, then you would think this is talking about heart, literally heart, like the heart, the organ pumping in your chest, but it's not. It's just the word ib, and the word ib can mean um, conceptualize, or it can mean the mind. So when I say ib e, it means my mind or my conceptualization.
Question.
Yeah.
Um, being that the strokes, I think they also signify like singularity or polarity. Could that also be like also the oneness of my mind? Kind of determining that idea.
No, no, that's dealing with you talk about the aspect of grammar called number. So whether something's singular, dual, or plural, and that's just not how the language mark its duals and plurals and things. You do have the three strokes to show plural, and you have two strokes that will signify to repeat something or duplicate something, but it's not written in the way that we see it here. So these are single strokes that is the same stroke that would be for the number one, but you don't see it on all of the other glyphs. So it was used by the Remage or the ancient Egyptians to signify that this particular sign is to be used as a logogram or as a word. This sign is a logogram, which means that it stands in for a word. Okay,
Wow.
so what I'm making a point of is that when people read in other books, they will read that that sign is supposed to signify the object that you're looking at, and to take it literally and so on. And that's just what I'm saying. It's not true.
Cool.
You know, like I'll give you an example. When I say Ra Ni Kemet, and that's the name of the language. If I was to able to show you the glyphs for that, the mouth, which is you see here, if you see my cursor, or here's a one that's by itself. This mouth is used for the word ro or ra, and you will see a stroke under it. But we know that lands don't have mouths, literally. Countries don't have mouths, continents don't have mouths, states, countries, whatever, don't have mouths, literally. So it's a more correct to say that it stands in for a logogram, and it stands in for a word, and then whatever that word means will depend on the context and stuff like that. So when people say ro ni kemet or ra ni kemet, it would be literally mouth of Kemet, but we know Kemet doesn't have a mouth literally, so it's more of a metaphor or idiom to mean the language of Kemet, that which comes out of the mouth, which is the speech, the utterances of Kemet, or the speech of Kemet, or the language of Kemet. And when we say um, um, Peret im Heru. That is really a shortened form of Runu Peret im Heru, which means utterances of coming forth by day, which is people know as the Book of the Dead. But even people who don't want to use Book of the Dead, they'll say Peret im Heru, but they'll cut off that beginning part, which is Runu Peret im Heru, which means Ru, which is the plural of a mouth. It's the pluralization of this sign here. So Ru Nu Peret im Heru, and they will translate that as utterances. So it doesn't say mouths. They don't say mouths for coming forth by day. Coming forth by day. Say utterances, that which come out of the mouth. So I just wanted to explain that with these strokes, because people are going to be reading these books. So I just want to put that out there for the record. So okay, but does anybody else have anything to add to this line? Or we could try to, we can translate it, or let's see what words. Anybody recognize any words? I should say. I kind of gave this one, ibi, which is my mind or my conceptualization or whatever. Ibi. Everybody got their mic muted. All right. So, I see Shesmu Patai to go out and come back in. All right, yeah, when you leave and come back, I have to activate you again. So my fault about that. So,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now. Yep.
Oh, okay. I'll try either the next word or the word after that. So the quail chick, I think, somebody help me. I think that would be pa or poo. And then
There you go.
Caprite. I think that's those. I guess those three symbols would go together. If somebody could help me with the grouping, I think the 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 beetle, the R, the overmouth, and the T are one word. So caprite.
I'd say
Um,
the beetle would be one word, and then the R and the T would be another word. So it'd be
so caprite. And hold on, let me get back to the. Okay. And then is that ah or I? No, not I.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I guess the after the seated man, the uh, I I do. And like I said, I'm not sure what the alligator and the R would sound like. If somebody could help me.
Anybody want to chime in? Okay, say it again. Where you at?
I guess after the seated man, um, I said
Let me lock it on my screen. I'm sorry for the thing. All right,
I
go ahead.
I said I do.
After the seated
The second
man.
the second the second seated man. Or
Okay.
do you want to? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's good.
And then I said I'm not sure what the alligator um, uh, phono, phenome or sound is.
I think that's a determinative. It goes together with the word that you just mentioned.
Okay. Okay. And that's which was, I said I do.
Mm-hmm.
And the R, and I couldn't remember what the that symbol at the top above the raised bread loaves
Okay.
was. And it looks like two, is that two legs underneath of it? Is that the
That's what I see.
Yeah, that's correct.
okay.
Hmm.
Hmm. And I can't remember either of those two symbols. Uh, but
Like,
I would maybe think that it means maybe visiting or crossing, um, maybe going to an area. I'm not sure. And then what was behind the standing man? I wasn't. I couldn't make that out.
okay, but this one you did. I believe you did. This the door bolt.
What about
Hmm.
Okay. No, actually, I thought it was the I could. It was. I thought knew it was a vertical bar, but I didn't know if it was the hotel or I didn't think it was a hotel. I thought it was the scroll. I didn't know what that was. So that's a doorbolt, and not sure what the doorbolt sounds or word for that is. And then the A again. So
Okay.
I think I've exhausted my my knowledge, and until I take the class, and I still have to get my flashcards, so I can definitely memorize the unilaterals and the bilaterals and trilaterals.
Okay.
So
All
with
right.
that, I will fall back with that one.
Okay. All right. But no, you did an excellent job. Definitely. Considering the fact that one, you're going off the top of your head, and then two, you haven't taken, a class. Um, you haven't taken class, period. So that's really good. Now this bird, I just want to see if you want to revisit this bird, compare this bird with this bird,
They
because
look a little different, or
right.
different.
Hmm.
One looks more like that's probably. I don't think it's a Heru. It kind of looks more like a falcon, but I know it's not a vulture.
Right. Okay. Now look at this bird, and then go down here and look at this bird. Do they look alike?
Yes,
Okay. So can you see this one better?
yes.
Or what? Now what do you think it is?
Maybe I don't know. I don't want to say M because I think M is a vulture.
No.
I know the
See, you
birds.
know what? You you're correct, but then you just fight yourself off because you're right. It is the M, but the M is the owl, so it's the owl.
The owl. That's right. That's right. That's
yeah, that's I was gonna say owl.
Okay.
right.
Right.
Now
So.
I will say, I haven't had the class, but over the last, I'm sure, year and a half, working with you, in the past, and before you even started your classes, and then also meeting on Hangouts with Satep and Ra, it's allowed me to get a better understanding of the language.
Oh yeah. Wow. That's good. That's excellent. That's what I'm saying.
And
That's really
watching the
good.
archives, and watching the archives are very helpful. The freestyle, the
Wednesday.
Wednesdays and the Freestyle Fridays is an awesome dialogue video session.
Okay. I could definitely appreciate that because that's one of the reasons why we're doing this so that people can learn from it. We're having fun, but at the same time, there's no crime in having fun and learning and giving people a chance to learn as well. So that's really good. And then so really so man, by the time you get into a class and go through a step-by-step more procedural way, then you're gonna be really straight because you have a head start already. Because based on you identifying what you've identified, that's good. There's a lot of people that this just look like pretty chicken scratches. It's like just pretty just signs. Like okay, I know that's a scarab. Like a mouth or whatever. But so that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
and lastly, I was just wanting to say, uh, I'm one of those, as you were speaking about earlier, I'm one of those people that want to understand how the people thought in what they wrote and what their mindset was when they wrote it. or what they were really trying to say, the culture, the understanding of the people,
Hmm.
rather to just surface dry cut. This is what it said, and I think on one of the sessions they spoke about a question was asked about the spirit. It wasn't enough spirit or something in the translation, but I think that's kind of what I'm kind of searching for. What was the spirit of the people when they were actually writing
Hmm.
these documents.
Well, that's good because that's going to motivate you. That's going to keep the fire up under you to learn and put up with it because this can be real tedious. Now, mind you, we're only on what line one, two, three, four. Now, if we're sitting down and we don't, and all we know is the monoliterals, then you can imagine. I'm gonna scroll, so you can imagine how long it would take to identify every single sign that's not a monoliteral. Obviously, the monoliterals by now, um, as we've been saying, by now these should be memorized, like the mouth, the raised bread loaf, the vulture, the arm, the hand, another vulture, quail chick, mouth, two bread loaves, the doorbolt, um, the owl, quail chick, mouth. All those are monoliterals, and we could just breeze through those real fast. But then all of the other glyphs, what we can do because we know the monoliterals, then we know what's not a monoliteral, and then those are the ones that if you don't memorize, you can look those up. So even still, this is full of glyphs that are not monoliterals, and it will still take a lot of time. But over time, at putting this to practice and doing this over and over again, you'll just start to know more than just the monoliterals. Um, like we know the I is the verb ir or iri, which means to do, to make. Um, what's another one that we knew off the top? Looking too fast now. Like this sled here. This sled is for the word tim. It's the bilateral for tm, tim, and it's usually using the word for atum. I mean that's used in the word for atum, like the deity atum. Um, what else was another? Something up here like
We
reshi.
have
Fish
we have
plant.
the heart.
Huh? Say it again.
We have the heart that we just went through.
Oh yeah, exactly. The heart id. This word how, which is here, it looks like mehu. Mehu is the thicket that has the extensions on it, and then this one that doesn't have is the how. So we know that.
Per,
Her. Yep,
per.
exactly.
You got the enclosed house in the first line, which is PR per.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah,
So
you have
you,
him over there too.
yeah, right. So you'll learn more and more of the glyphs, and then it will cut down the time that it would take. But I'm saying this to say that you can see how intimidating this could be and how tedious it could be. So the fact that you have fire and want to learn what the spirit behind all of this stuff with the people, then that's gonna keep you going. That's what's gonna fuel your um your learning experience. Because
And
I've
also,
experienced people give up. Some people give up. Some people, they find this a little too much. They'll get involved and find this too much. And this is one reason why I separated. I I I have a beginner's level and then an intermediate level, because if you try to teach it all at one time, it could be overwhelming, and people will just drop like flies. But if you chop it up like that, then people can have a beginner's understanding. And then if that's all they want, then that's cool. At least they feel like they've accomplished something, and then they're done. But then you have people who want to go forward and learn, the grammar and everything. So it acts
and,
like it's a filter.
and also what you said about applying it to the relevancy of everyday life today, because like you said, they had something special, and if you can apply those specialities to your life today, I think that would be really meaningful.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's definitely important. Otherwise, you kind of just doing it for sport, and that's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to have is to use Kemet as a resource, as a resource for today. And this is how people should use their history. Period. Anybody's history, even your own personal family's history. We're supposed to use our personal family history as a resource to dig from. We have aunts and uncles or fathers and grandfathers who did certain things a certain way, and we could look into how they did it, what caused them to do it, everything like that, learn from it, and either apply it to right now as is, or improve upon it, or whatever the case is. Or we could learn from a mistake. We could be like, okay, no, I don't want to do that, because somebody in my family did that, and it was disaster. So now I know what not to do. So either way, we're supposed to use our history, whether it's personal or global, whatever. We're supposed to use it as a resource and mind it as a resource, because we have European cultures. They use Greece heavily. Greek philosophy, Greek culture, Greek everything. Everything is Greek, 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 Greek. Greek is their classical, the European culture's classical civilization. So Kemet is for the African classical civilization. And I understand that some people are tired of the commercialization and the romanticizing of Kemet. But what we have to be careful of is, although we're tired of it being commercialized or romanticized, or people may have something against that, we have to be careful not to use that and then try to diminish Kemet beyond whatever it is supposed to stand for. And I see that every now and then. I see people try to go out their way to diminish Kemet because they feel that Kemet is being too glorified, too held up on this pedestal. The people are like, well, what about the other civilizations in Africa? And it's fine, let's talk about them then. But you don't have to put down Kemet to talk about the others. Leave Kemet where it is, let it shine, romanticize it. Like, we're the only people who don't feel comfortable romanticizing our own stuff. Everybody else romanticizes their own stuff. But when we do it, it's too much. No, leave Kemet where it is, and let's just start to talk about others. That's all we have to do. And that goes hand in hand with the concept of men versus women. You got, in order to elevate the woman, people feel like they got to put down the man. And that's not it, because when you do that, you're not elevating. All you're doing is, you're bringing what's already been elevated, you're bringing it down to make the appearance that something else is being elevated, but you're not. You're really just moving to one side, not really bringing up the other. So leave Kemet as it is, study it for what it is, take from it for what it is, the accuracy of it, and then we could discuss other civilizations if people would like to. That's all. So that's what we have to do. But we have to apply it, though. You're right. And that's one of the bigger goals. We want to create speech communities to trigger our conceptualizations of the world, our worldview. We need a paradigm shift. So Seshew, Medew, Netcher, Ronnie, Kemet is a huge tool to do that. Because as I said earlier, when you learn the grammar, I'm telling you, it's going to open you up. You're going to realize the potency and the value of this script and the language. It's just immediately, we could just discuss, I know it's late now. We already been on here for over 2 hours. But we could have a discussion just on the different elements of the language without even getting into the language, just the application of how these different signs can function. And we can have a full discussion about that. And just that alone will be like, you'll walk away like, wow, because we don't have that in English. And it doesn't exist in a lot of other languages either. So that alone will cause you to have a paradigm shift in the way that you look at things, and we'll stop taking for granted communication. Because human communication is something that is pretty natural, and it's inherited by everyone at birth. Because you actually hear communication prior to you even coming out of the womb. You hear people talk, even though you may not. You're a baby and in the womb and everything, but it starts there, and as you from your birth and you growing up, you learn how to communicate. So we take it for granted because it's come so natural, it comes so instant when we're born, that when you learn another language, that's when you start paying attention to what it is we're doing. We're actually communicating. How? By sounds. But why does this sound have this meaning? So what is a sound really? So a sound conveys a meaning. So the sound acts as a vehicle to like a taxi cab, and the meaning is its passenger. So the meaning gets into the cab, and then the cab travels to the next person. And so these sounds form what we call words, and then words relate to other words, and these relationships are established by rules and regulations that we call grammar and syntax. And so this is the form of communication that we deal with. But once you get into it, then you're like, wow, okay, and we just stop taking it for granted. We take it serious and we look into it, and then we'll see how potent and powerful it is. And then we start looking at different languages and realize that Seshew, Medew, Netcher, and Rani Kemet, or the languages of Egypt, you'll be blown away. It will totally eliminate the argument of, people get into argument of which language came first, whether it's the Sumerian language or the Egyptian language. And I'm telling you, when you study the language, that kind of question arguments would float away. You wouldn't be really concerned about that at all. So the effectiveness of any language is its ability to convey meaning with the least amount of ambiguity. Remember that. Remember that. Even on the street lingo, it has grammar. Like, it has semantics. You're conveying meanings, and there's a way to do it. Nobody, people can't just come up to you and I'm telling you how intricate it gets. In different neighborhoods, you had different handshakes or different ways people greet each other. You had the pound, like, I'm gonna give you a pound, give me a pound. You had the elbow, or you had just the nodding of the head. Like, how you could walk down the street and you see somebody that or whatever, and y'all just raise the chin up, be like, what's up? But you don't say anything. You just get that body gesture, what's up, or whatever. That has meaning. You're conveying meaning. Like, you're telling the other person, hey, I acknowledge you, what's up, what's going on? Silently. You're not saying anything, though. You're just doing that gesture, like, hey, what's up? But it becomes standardized, and it's a rule to it. Like, it's the nod up. It's not the nod sideways. Like, you don't walk down the street and just shake your head side to side to try to convey that meaning. So it becomes something meaningful. Anyway, I don't want to ramble on. But anybody got any other comments or anything? Because I know we've been on for over 2 hours now. And you know me, I'll drag this out.
Yeah, it was definitely a good show, man. Like I said, we leaning toward, like I said in the last show, and I'm gonna keep saying it, we're leaning towards that grammar. It's coming. So, like you said, once we get that under our belts, it'll unlock a whole lot of new things for us. So, patiently ready for it.
And I'm telling you, and doing, I'm working on the grammar book, and my goal is to have it completed by the fall. So the fall season, I want to be able to start, we'll have it published and then start classes. But in me putting it together, I'm taking my time, because I realize that there's a lot to cover, and then there's a lot of information that I'm finding that should be explained differently. Like, I'll just give a quick example. In other grammars, whether it's Gardner, whether it's James P. Allen, or Hotch, or whatever these other grammars, you'll learn about something that's called demonstrative pronouns. I'm just giving an example. Demonstrative pronouns, and they'll have a section on it, and you'll read about it, and you learn about it. But certain things should be explained slightly different. Like, I gave one earlier about that single stroke. You'll find out in a lot of grammars or books about the language that they'll teach you that the single stroke stands for, what you see is what you get. Take the object literally, and that's just incorrect. So that needs to be explained slightly different. The same thing with demonstrative pronouns. They should just be called demonstratives, and then it should be explained that they can function as a pronoun. But the thing itself is just simply a demonstrative, and it can function as a pronoun or it can function as an adjective. And I believe I gave examples a while back, but that's another example. So in examining the grammar and everything like that, I'm finding that some things need to be clarified and explained differently. So these are the things that I'm working out And then there's more. I'm just giving the quick examples, but there's more that's really much more in depth, um, and involved. Yeah, we had 3 hours. Okay, so yeah, so we can definitely cut it out. Brother Sean, you got anything to say? Sejmu, Patal, you got any comments, questions, comments, anything?
Man, thank you for, everything y'all do, man. I learned so much actually from all of y'all. Every build is something different, so it helps keep me focused. I know I got the longest way to go, so I just appreciate the effort, and the opportunity to build. That's all.
All right, well that's cool. Yeah, and I appreciate the fact that I know you're taking a class right now, so um, I already see your progress and everything, um, even with the class and with our discussions in the class. So I already know you're gonna be straight. So it's just a matter of being patient and just walking the walk. That's it. Just like learning the keyboard, learning how to play the piano. That's one thing that I personally I I learned the theory of music, the circle of fifths and the different notes, different chord progressions and everything, but I never took the time to put in the man hours to work on my finger coordination to actually physically play good. You put me in the studio, I can play a chord and then I could overdub it, play another chord, but I couldn't play live for the life of me to save my life right now. But I can tell you what chord that is, though. So this is the same thing. We could learn what we learn, but then you definitely have to have patience and just put in the man hours to do it and develop some memory of a lot of these different things. So I already know you're gonna be straight. And then Sejmu, I know you gonna get in on the next upcoming class. So I look forward to seeing you
Yes, sir.
with
And,
the rest.
and I would just say triple strokes on what all has been said, and this is great work, and I hope you continue this for many years and
Uh,
much success.
Sejmu, let me ask you a question. So there's a very well respected elder that's out there that a lot of people look up to, and he is of the opinion that hieroglyphs has not been deciphered. So what do you got to say about that?
Well, we don't just speak out on things we don't know about. So I'm gonna say I think it was it I'm gonna say the elder's name.
Yeah, yeah,
Is it
definitely.
Clyde Winters?
Say it again.
Was it Clyde
No,
Winters?
no, 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 no.
Nah,
No. Uh, yeah, I can't think of his name right now. But yeah, I definitely
This is before
disagree.
Christ.
And I
Walter Williams.
Yeah.
Walter Williams. Yeah, Claude
That's
Walter
it.
Williams. I definitely respect him as an elder.
Hmm.
And the work that he has done over the years, but and I don't agree with a lot of his work. Um, I know he has one or two books out, and he's done many lectures and spoke on many occasions. But I even spoke to him personally on either a hangout or a blog talk a couple of times, and I respect the elder, but I disagree with him saying that the Meadow Netcher has not been deciphered, or anybody
Hmm.
who has said that it has not been deciphered, because if they, and a lot of times they talk about the European is the one who has brought this information, but if they would do a little more research, they
Hmm.
will find out that they, although the European may have brought the understanding to America, there are people prior to those Europeans that were either still speaking the language or writing the similar language. Like you spoke about the cursive writing, the Demotic, the hieratic, whether it's Coptic or people like Ibn Washir, whether you believe that person exists or not, or adepts, Egyptian adepts that carried on the language
Hmm.
or the script. I think I mean, from what you do today and Fadishi and Raketi Amin, it's clear.
Hmm.
Um, the symbols and signs that we go through and you guys explain and teach us. Um, this is not make believe. This is not made up words and made up ideas and logograms and ideograms and icons. This is. I mean, if you can't realize that the information being given is what it says or is similar to what it says, might not be the way it's spoken, but if you can't, just like with what's the other language, Hebrew, quote unquote Hebrew, when they're reading that language, it's not straight English. You know, it's written right to left, and there when it's translated or transliterated, uh, it's broken up too as well, and you don't always get the English meanings behind the stuff. So to say that Medew Netcher has not been deciphered,
Hmm.
you can raise the same argument for Hebrew.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, but the reason why, one of the reasons why I asked you that is because, you know, it's perfectly fine to, like, we can disagree with elders without disrespecting our elders. And I've seen recently where that has become an issue of, you know, like, people take disagreeing with an elder as disrespect, and that's not disrespect, you know, because you can disagree. And the thing is, the reason, what has to be put back into place is something that we do, but we really don't pay attention to. You know, before we get into a big gathering or before we speak, a lot of us will ask the elders, can we speak? You know, we always ask permission from the elders to speak. And as we discussed in maybe 2 Wednesdays ago, when the brother Simotep was on our Divine Words Wednesdays, we were discussing the fact that when we asked our elders for permission to speak, in essence, what we're also asking them is for them to allow us to teach them as well. It's a two-way street to this. You know, we respect and look at our elders because they have the experience. They've been traveling around the sun more times than we have, and we call that age. So they are older than us as far as their living experiences. But elders can learn from the youth, and youth can definitely learn from the elders. So it's a two-way street. So when we ask our elders, may I have your permission to speak, where some people just do it symbolically just to acknowledge elders, but we need to get it back to what the real essence of that doing that really means, which is to ask the elder, yes, can we have permission to speak, but you're asking the elder to become an instructor of the audience and them. You know, it's a two-way street. So I say that to say that we're not going to always agree with our elders, but there should be a very respectful and humble way to disagree. And I think that we need to show more of that. So the elder, Dr. or Professor Walter Williams, he is of the opinion that the Seshew Netcher or hieroglyphs hasn't been deciphered. And we would just have to humbly and respectfully disagree with the elder, but not just to disagree for the sake of it. We can show him. And in the example I gave, if he was in the crowd somewhere or whatever the case is, we would have to ask him, can I have permission to speak? And he would have to realize that I'm asking him, not only do I have permission to speak out of respect, but I'm also asking you, can I teach you? Or can I show you something, point out something to you as well? And I think that's where the two-way street comes. I think Professor Williams would have to come under that realization as well. You know, let us present some information, and then hopefully he can rethink his position. You know, so that's why I kind of brought up that, and plus the fact that we're actually doing it. We're actually doing it, and we could show that. And I've heard the different arguments against it being deciphered, whether it's by Professor Walter Williams or other people. You know, a lot of people are confused about the rebus principle, the rebus principle. That's really where the heart of it is. You know, and they really need to just study the language and how languages work. You know, to really overcome that confusion. But that's a confusion that people are having because they don't understand it. So, But anyway, anybody else have any closing remarks? I know we've been on for 3 hours, over 3 hours now. Still have some people watching, and but it's Friday night. I know people do have a life, unlike some of us nerds here, you know.
Um, yeah, well, I would just like to thank our two new guests, Sean and Seshew, and hopefully, we'll see more of them. And I'll just like to let know as well that I've been doing this for just, I don't know, about 9 months, and probably like 9 months ago I couldn't even tell the difference between an owl, a quill chick, but just like just keep working at it. And for anybody out there who's like, if you feel like you're being deterred away from learning Sesh Netcher because probably you heard somebody say it hasn't been deciphered and all that. I mean, me just coming through it and just learning it, I could definitely see that it has been deciphered. I mean, there are cognates. You can tell the cognates with different African languages. So if you want to learn it, and it can be learned, and you just have to keep working at it. I mean, 9 months ago I didn't know nothing, but now we are translating. So yeah, just keep working at it.
Yeah, that's good. Excellent. And like I said, a lot of the arguments that I'm seeing lately, at least in the past 2 years, a lot of the arguments would be eliminated the more people study the language. A lot of arguments about the language are coming from a place of not being very familiar with the language. And so I really view a lot of arguments as being premature conversations. You know, it's like when you don't really know about something, but you want to say something about it, and then therefore arguments ensue because you're not fully competent in a particular subject or whatever. But we want to rush and speak about different things, you know. So, um, I just encourage people to study. You know, man, that's the main thing. Study and learn. Be patient. No, it's not going anywhere. Egypt is, depending on who you talk to, Egypt is 5 to 10,000 years old. It's not going anywhere. I mean, you got uh, some damage. Damage is being done, whatever. But the texts are logged, cataloged, documented, facsimiles, this and the other. They're still discovering things within the sand, the desert sands of Lower Nubia, or lower, I should say, lower, um, what they call Lower Nubia, but Sudan. I know Sudan is like broken in half now. Um, the northern part of Sudan and lower part of Egyptian border and everything like that, and all over Egypt, they're still discovering things all the time. They're rediscovering things that was already discovered. And I'm sure you all probably seen newspaper articles or watched documentaries where they would have found a statue, and then somebody put it somewhere, and then it gets lost, and then all of a sudden they're rediscovering it, and yet it was in the museum's basement the whole time. And I know the museum in Cairo, they did a recent documentary where they allowed cameras in there for the first time, um, media cameras in there for the first time, to give them a tour of the basement or whatever in the Cairo Museum, and there's a whole bunch of different things that are still uncatalogued. They don't even know what's down there. So I can understand, after seeing that, I understood what they meant by getting lost. Because in my mind at first, I'm like, wait a minute, if it's in a museum, how is it lost? But the museum floor open to the public can only show but so many artifacts, so they store a lot of things in the basements or different rooms and crypts inside the basements of these museums, and then things get untagged, uncatalogued, unstudied, and it gets lost. Like, you don't know, like, you're looking at this object, but you don't know where it came from, what it's from, or whatever, until you do the knowledge, pull the records or whatever. And then nowadays, obviously, record keeping is a lot better because we have computers and stuff. But when they were first logging these things, everything was by hand, handwritten, in different languages and so on and so forth. So anyway, but like I said, I keep rambling on. But anybody else have anything? I will end the live part of this. So with that, our next session will be Divine Words Wednesday, where we'll continue to walk through the Papyrus of Ani, the Book of the Dead of Ani, or the Peret Imheru of Ani. and we'll continue next week with I believe plate 2.
Well, Joe, before you end, have you decided on the next class session, or have any individuals got together to contact you about when your next class will start?
I'm trying to get everybody to settle on a day, because like I said, if I get 3 or more people that are available for a consistent day of the week, then I'll get it started. So right now it's looking like it's going to be Monday evening. So, but that's not etched in stone. I'm just trying to see, because I had a few people, yourself, and then I believe 3 other people that contacted me recently, so that would make 4. So if I can get all 4 people to agree on availability of the day of the week, then we can just get started.
Okay,
So and I think you said weekends will work for you, right?
well, Monday will work. I mean, weekends are better, but Monday evenings will work for me as well.
Okay.
And the is the price the same? And does can we join the website without being a part of the class, or
Yeah.
as far as
Well,
register?
yeah. The class is like itself. Like the class is a separate registration to that, because it allows me
Right.
to know who's interested and who registers and everything. But yeah, you could join the website right now without.
Okay.
It's separate than the class. You could join the website, and
And what is the website?
um, Netcher.com. It's MDW-NTR.com.
Okay. And you know I know that I'm just being rhetorical for
Oh, I
uh
mean that's good. I appreciate
that's
that, because
yeah.
sometimes I'll forget. I'll forget to mention it as far as for the video, but I'll make sure we include the links inside of the description box and everything. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I have to get better at that. These plugs to plug in different things. We got these shameless plugs and plugs and stuff. Sometimes I forget to plug the website and the classes, the flashcards, the book, and everything like that. So y'all can help me out with that. But yeah, the class. I got a good class going on right now. Sean is in the class, in the current class with others. Brother Jehuti Ma'at. We have a sister, Ernestine. And that's another thing. We need more sisters. I don't know what it is about the language. Is it a masculine thing, male thing, man thing? Like I'm like, what's going on?
It's
Um,
all the debates going on.
yeah, I was just great. I was gonna say that. I'm wondering, because of the climate, because of the debating going on, because you don't see sisters debating. You just don't. We just don't see it. Not to say that sisters can't debate at all, but we just don't see it. That's just not what is shown to us on the mics in front of the cameras. So, and I think that's spilling over into this kind of stuff, where we may have some sisters out there that are interested, but because of this subtle male dominancy in the debating arena and stuff like that, I don't know. It may be a little reluctant to get involved, but it's not like that. We don't debate. The Seshew Mighty Medew Netcher, we don't debate as a group. And the reason why is because in order to debate anybody, the person you're debating has to be competent in the subject matter. And if you're not if you're not proficient or competent in this subject, then there's no debating. It's not a debating situation. It is a teaching situation. So we don't debate, we teach. And that's not to be arrogant or anything like that. It's just the simply the way it is. Because I can't debate someone. That's like me debating someone about a book that they never read. Here I am. I read the book. The other person didn't read the book, but yet they want to challenge me on a debate. I would be a fool to debate that person. Instead, I don't mind talking to the person or dealing with the person, but it wouldn't be a debate. It would be simply me teaching them about what's in the book, because they don't know. They didn't read the book. I did. So with this language and everything like that, it makes no sense to debate people who have not taken the time out to really study the language. And that's what I see a lot going on. people want to discuss and bring up questions and talk about the language, but they themselves, they don't study it. I've been teaching the language for about 5 years now, a beginner's level. I've been dealing with the language longer than that, but I've been teaching it for that long. And I've been teaching online for a year now. And I wrote the book, published the book last year in March. So that's been over a year. And now I'm working on a grammar book. And I'm going to open up classes to deal with grammar. So, and then I'm updating grammar because there's things that are explained in the past that should be explained differently. You know, we have the benefit of having the first, I would say, probably the only African American or person of African descent to write an Egyptian grammar, who is Ankh-Mi Ra. His book was done in 1995. It's out of print and hasn't been reprinted or anything. I am going to stand on his shoulders and utilize him and his work as a basis for what I'm going to be pushing forward. So we've learned a lot in dealing with the language since 1995 up until now, just with grammar alone, with the language in general, and even ways to explain it. Because now, you know, we have access to more information. There's a lot more misinformation out there. So it's certain things you got to address a certain way, certain things you got to update. So it's best to put forth a piece of work now in this day and time. So that's what my intentions are and to do. But you have people who don't study the language. And then some of the arguments are really, you know, they really have no value, you know, and I just, you know, I would rather people to walk progressively towards accuracy than to kind of go around in circles and debating and things like that. So, you know, and experts, you know, we call people experts. You have scholars and you have experts. Scholars can learn about something and talk about it and discuss it very, very effectively. Experts are people who are more hands-on and direct about something. You know, one of the general ideas of a difference between a scholar and an expert is that an expert has certain information, you know, at the top of at the forefront of their minds, whereas a scholar may know the information, but it's not at the forefront, not at the tip of their mind, and that just comes from an expert being hands-on, utilizing something all the time, whereas a scholar has learned it and can talk about it and teach it, but they're not, the things are not readily there, you know. And then experts still have to be updated as well, and experts can be wrong just like scholars can be wrong and whatnot. But anyway, but I don't want to keep this going on. I like I said, I could run my mouth. I'm known as MC Iron Lung. So I would say Shimim Hotep, and I will see everyone next Wednesday, Divine Words Wednesday, or next Freestyle Fridays. And please submit any other pictures. I know there's a couple more, so we'll probably get to those next Friday because I think they were shorter and smaller, so we could probably run through maybe 2 or 3 even on next Friday, and we could probably speed up the pace and get through them. All right, so with that, I'll say Shimim Hotep.